space, it's Gary with the news. Tune in on the radio, don't let Big Brother know. They're listening to everything, even Gary's late night show. If you need a friend to talk to, he will always be there. The Night Show Dreamers talk show will fix your despair. Because Gary's talking to you at night. Who's friends with all the night dreamers talking to you at night? Gary on the radio, but maybe he's not in sight. Bigfoot's on his tail, flying UFOs, that's right. Gary's talk show radio, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday nights. If you need a friend to talk to, he will always be there. The Night Dreamers talk show will fix your despair. If you want to talk conspiracies, Night Dreamers is for you. Top secret case, alien space, it's Gary with the news. Tune in on the radio, don't let Big Brother know. They're listening to everything, even Gary's late night show. If you need a friend to talk to, he will always be there. The Night Show Dreamers talk show will fix your despair. Because Gary's talking to you at night.
Pyramids and the Great Floods is a must-get, must-read, fascinating new book by John Shaughnessy. Discover the purpose of the global pyramids and how an advanced Type 3 society used them to control global floods and reduce the impact of instant ice ages. In 1997, a geologist discovered 30 times the Earth's surface oceans located below the upper mantle, the source of Noah's floodwaters. While cataclysm researchers have been looking to the heavens for the doomsday catalyst, it turns out that all the while, it's been right under our very feet. Hell really is down below. Pyramids and the Great Floods describes in full detail how ancient past societies used the global pyramids to lower the damage of floods. You will be amazed. Pyramids and the Great Floods by John Shaughnessy. Get it now on Amazon in paperback and on Amazon Kindle. The strange news in brief. I'm Guy Ticker. Apparent wooden ship from the 1800s uncovered by hurricane beach erosion. Dateline Daytona Beach shores, Florida. Severe beach erosion from 2 late-season hurricanes has helped uncover what appears to be a wooden ship dating from the 1800s that had been buried under the sand on Florida's east coast. I'm Guy Ticker. The strange news is brought to you by Night Dreams Talk Radio Network. Do you have a strange news story? Contact us at nightdreamstalkradio.com. You are listening to Night Dreams Talk Radio Network, the home of Night Dreams Talk Radio, with Gary Anderson, syndicated worldwide. Paranormal Talk Radio, like you remember.
Well, JC, we made it to Friday, and I wasn't sure it was going to happen tonight. I tell you what, if anybody is jinxed, I am jinxed. You know, everybody here in the studio said, Gary, stop drinking coffee or soda near the computers. And just before we went on the air, as you know, JC, a cup of ice and, well, some soda went right into one of the servers. I tell you, I'm going to hear about that in the morning.
Yeah, that's one way to cool down the servers. Plus, a big thank you to our guest Roslyn for calling in. We had some little scares there for a minute, but
we did have some. But I thought maybe it was because the soda went into the server and it wasn't working right. I don't know.
Sodas and servers don't go well together.
Yeah. Well, have you had an exciting day today?
Well, I paid a lot of bills. That's exciting for the people on the other end of it, but not so much for me.
Yeah, I made my mortgage payment today. I made a car payment today. I paid the insurance. I paid for watching cable TV, and I put a certain money left, for food, and then I got 38 cents left for the month.
Oh, you should ration that out. You don't want to spend it all in one place.
What can you buy for 38 cents? That's not true. Actually, I got $5. But what can you buy for $5, honestly?
Maybe a lottery ticket to win more, and that's about it.
Yeah, one of my sons, he worked for me for a while, and I owned that indoor skate park back a few years ago. Not the son here, but one of my other sons. And he went up to his wife and said, Dad's not paying me. Not very much. He's only paying me half. Well, he got busted. What he was doing was he would give half of his paycheck to his wife and saying, that's all I got. The other half, he was buying these, tickets to try to win money. And he got caught. His wife was cleaning out his, pickup truck. Underneath the seat, there was a shoebox with hundreds and hundreds of $5, $10, and $20, God.
He didn't get rid of the evidence.
Yeah, and he didn't make no $1 million. He didn't even make $10 probably.
No, those are made so you don't win, so that they make money.
Well, naturally, it's controlled by the state.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And they're honest.
They are. Well, who are we going to be talking about? What are we going to be talking about here tonight?
Hey, our guest tonight is Roslyn Kind. She is a dynamic, multi-talented entertainer who has forged a successful career in all facets of entertainment, from critically acclaimed recordings to sold-out performances on Broadway and in the top concert venues and nightclubs the world over. Miss Kind recently performed with her sister, Barbra Streisand, during an 8-city U.S.-Canadian tour.
Well, Roslyn, welcome to the show. How are you doing this Friday night?
I'm doing great on this Sabbath night. How are you doing, fellas?
Well, I'm doing good if I don't spill something more into a computer.
Oh, my God, that's like a catastrophe, isn't it?
You could hear a sizzle halfway through the interview. I don't know. But, you were inspired by your grandfather to get into music when you were a child, weren't you?
Not inspired. My grandparents were emigrated from Russia, so they were immigrants into this country. But he was the one gifted with the voice that got passed down to our mother, and then my mother passed it down to me and my sister passed it down to my nephew.
Well, you talk about all in the family. There you go.
There you have it.
And
it's all about the genes.
Yeah. And they weren't even Levi. I got to ask you another question.
It's simply my joke.
I'm sorry. I beat you to it.
It's okay. Go ahead.
Anyway, my birthday is January the 8th, by the way, and yours is the 9th.
Really? Yeah. You're the same day as Elvis, huh?
Yeah.
I think Elvis is.
I just wish I could sing like Elvis did. I mean, that would have been great. I break records when I sing.
You're a fellow Cappy.
Yeah. Well, how old were you when you got interested in singing? When did it hit you?
As a child, because we had music in the house, and we always, I was always singing when I was a kid, watching television shows and singing the themes. The first one I ever sang was, Davy Crockett. Remember Fess Parker?
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Yeah, I remember Davy Crockett, king of the wild frontier. And I'd be like a little kid, 4 years old.
Did your parents tell you to sing some other song, though?
Well, no, but that was the first one, and then I went to Hebrew school and I learned some others, and I went to public school and I learned some others, and as I got into my teen years, I was one of those teens with a transistor radio in her ear 24/7, bought a record every week, and I was into the Motown sound, and the English invasion was my big love.
Oh, wow.
The English invasion in the 60s. But I also was influenced by the people my sister listened to in the 50s. I mean, I got into Johnny Mathis and Lena Horne. I learned, so I had a good crossover of music.
Yeah, Johnny Matthews.
Yep.
I met him a couple times. Nice guy.
Mathis.
Yeah, Mathis.
Yeah, he's a sweet guy.
Yeah, he was just a sweet person.
Yeah, he really is, and a gorgeous voice.
Yeah, and he could play chess like nobody else.
Play chess?
Yeah,
Really?
he was a chess player. My ex-wife's grandmother was a champion chess player, and he would come up to, Longview, Washington, and play chess with her.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, that's a bit of trivia I wouldn't have known.
Now you do.
Now I do.
So when you were in grade school, I mean, did you sing in school and in any of the choirs or anything?
Well, yeah, of course I sang in the school chorus, and I was in the choir at my synagogue, and, I rarely sang alone because I was very, very shy. So I didn't really get up on the stage. I wasn't one of those forceful kids that, pushes her way onto the stage or anything. I was very shy and humble. I used to sing a lot at home. I would have my pretend world and play records that I loved and sing with them, and television shows that I loved. I would write myself into a script. I would pretend, and I would, for instance, I loved Fury when I was a kid. Remember Fury?
Oh, yeah.
About on a Saturday. There was a whole lineup of kids shows on Saturday morning. And there was Peter Graves, who was the male lead, and then Bobby Diamond played his adopted son, and then there was Pete the cook. I would write myself into the script and pretend play that I'm part of the family. I used to do things like that. I would create ballets to the music of Exodus, and I would sing in the mirror. And every time I saw a great, when I got old enough to go to Broadway, and there was a show that I really loved, a musical, if I would learn the album and I would do everybody's parts, men and women.
Oh, men and women, both.
Even the duets.
Oh, wow. Did you and your sister growing up, did you sing together at all or practice back and forth or anything? Or
No, I'm like just a little under 9 years younger than my sister. But she, we did used to harmonize on Row, Row, Row Your Boat. And she taught me how to cha-cha and mambo, because that was a dance craze then. Am I giving away age? What's going on?
You're giving my age away, I tell you that much. But you know what? Yeah, I'm only 72. But as they say, numbers don't really mean anything. So I reverse it. I'm 27 again.
I hear you. I'm going in that direction myself.
Yeah. As long as I don't go into the diaper stage. I don't want to go back for that. So here you were with a transistor radio, and you're going through like junior high school and all that. What other type of music did you like? Besides Motown, which I really liked, and
I liked the English Invasion, the Beatles. There was also this television show here called Where the Action Is, and it had all the American hit artists too of the era, and with the dancers. Do you remember like Hullabaloo and all that?
Oh, yeah, I do.
The show Hullabaloo? I'm so into those shows.
Yeah, they had like Paul Revere and the Raiders were on it quite a bit, too.
Oh, my God,
Where the Action Is.
I love them, yeah.
Tommy Rowe, remember him?
Uh-huh.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yep. The good old days.
But I love the English Invasion, and the women sing, the Dusty Springfields and the Lulus and the Cilla Blacks and Marianne Faithfull and Petula Clark.
Oh, yeah.
Remember Petula?
I sure do. What has happened to music? My oldest son, my second oldest son, we were talking about music, and I would start mentioning people, and he goes, "Who's that?" And I can't, I like all kinds of music, but I'll be honest with you. Music isn't what it was in the 60s and 70s and 80s. Somehow after the 70s, it changed.
I was maybe after the 80s. The 90s, I don't know. It's really very different. I found them. I like the music of yesteryear. My favorite radio station plays all the music from the 60s, 70s, and 80s. And I sing with it all the time in the car.
I bet it makes you feel young, too.
Oh, gosh, yes. Revisit my childhood.
Oh, yeah. Bobby Goldsboro and all that. Oh, yeah.
Bobby Goldsboro, yeah. Oh, my gosh.
You remember the song, Honey?
I'm not quite sure.
See the tree, how big it's grown, and okay, whatever. I'm not a singer, by the way.
No, but oh my God, and Neil Sedaka. I love Neil. I love him. He's still around doing Neil Sedaka.
Yeah, Neil Sedaka does on Facebook. He does like little mini concerts off and on.
He did a classical album too that he played for me once when he was working on it. Really, he has amazing talent, Neil. and such a nice guy as well.
Oh, yeah. He can sit down on that piano and crank out songs one right after the
Yeah.
other.
As a matter of fact, there was one time that he came to see me when I was in concert at a club here in Los Angeles, and I had strep throat that night, and I didn't know it was strep throat, so I went to the doctor, and I shouldn't have been around anybody, but he got up and did a few numbers for me so that I got a little vocal rest during the show.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So how do you think music is today compared to, well, our younger days?
I prefer our younger days. I do. I mean, there's a lot of people out there that on the Grammy Awards where I probably don't even know who they are. But yeah, I'm more into our the classic rock of yesteryear, and show tunes and pop. You know, those days, like people like my sister and Johnny and all those, they were really considered pop. I don't think they're called pop today.
No, it's easy listening now.
Yeah, exactly. Now it's easy listening.
You know, I was talking to my one son here last night, and, you know, he was talking about some singer, and I go, well, you know, if you really think about Frank Sinatra had girls just like swooning for him, you know, you know, when he sang, I mean, everybody just went quiet and girls were screaming, you know, and actually, but it was music. And that's what I really miss.
And when he was older and I was playing in Las Vegas on my night off, we went to see him at Caesar's Palace at the Circus Maximus. And he was like, and he was getting older, and he was like slowing down. His voice wasn't even what it used to be. And people were yelling. He's like making excuses. You just have to stand there, Frank. That's what they were yelling out.
Oh,
but
wow.
he was, he was, his era was the 40s, wasn't it? When he came up?
Yeah, late 40s. He sang for a band, and then he got, right. Yeah. Now, and you also appeared on 2 appearances in 69 and 70 on the Ed Sullivan Show.
I did 2 appearances in 69 and 1 in 70. Yeah, I made my debut on the Ed Sullivan Show February 9th, 1969, the day of the bad blizzard in New York.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I had to walk. Thank God we lived in Manhattan, so I had to walk in the snow with the snow coming down, the snow on the ground from 57th Street between 8th and 9th to the Ed Sullivan Theater on 52nd and Broadway. Because there were no cars, nothing.
What was it like?
Yeah.
What was it like to sing on stage on the Ed Sullivan Show?
Well, you know, it was an experience. It was like my first. I had only done a couple of break-in work jobs, you know, live singing performances to break in, to get used to the singing in front of people and stuff. But when I was in high school, I graduated, and the day of my graduation, I was at RCA Studio B because I had gotten my contract that year. And his show was the first big thing that I was really doing. And there was actually an arbitration because everybody wanted my debut. Mind you, not because I was Roslyn Kind, because I was Barbra's sister. And I know that, you know. But they were vying for my first appearance. It was Hollywood Palace and Ed Sullivan. And Ed Sullivan won out, but we said to Hollywood Palace, well, what do you want her? No, they only wanted the debut. Anyway, make a long story short, because I'm going into this whole thing, because I'm remembering stuff as you're asking me. Ed Sullivan won the arbitration, and I went and rehearsed there, and I was there the week before. I was in the audience. He wanted me to be in the audience because Topol was going to be on, and he thought, I didn't even stop to think about, Fiddler on the Roof. He was going to be doing the movie. It was like putting the zets in somebody's head. And So he had me come in the audience. He brought me up on stage later on with Carol Lawrence and Topol. But the following week I was singing, and it was great. But what can I say? I was absolutely nervous as hell. When I looked at the camera, I said, "Where am I supposed to look? Am I supposed to look in the light, or am I supposed to look in the lens?" And I had these horrible feelings that I was going cross-eyed. But it was incredible. I mean, it wasn't the biggest stage, but it was a very famous stage, that theater.
Well, people, people just couldn't wait to the Ed Sullivan Show. I remember my parents, my grandparents, they'd all sit in our living room. Oh, they're going to have the Beatles on Ed Sullivan Show tonight.
That's right.
Yeah.
They were on in 64. I was on in 69.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was a Beatlemaniac. I was one of those girls that stood on a chair and pulled her hair and cried. I had all the buttons. I had all the collections. I don't know what happened to my collection.
Well, the Beatles really changed music. It really did.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. But they had a class about them, and their music made sense. The lyrics made sense. And they also became spiritual, which I love.
Oh, yeah. Also, you were on Saturday Night Live, Season 2, April 16th, 1977.
Oh, my God, you looked that up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was. I sure was.
How was that?
That was great. I really wanted to be in one of the skits. I really wanted to be in one of the skits, but I was a singing guest, and my then brother-in-law Elliot Gould introduced me as my son Jason's Aunt Rosie.
Elliot Gould did?
Yeah.
Wow.
He was the host that night. Yeah, and that's how he introduced me. And now my son Jason's aunt. It was fun. It was great. And then they told me that the switchboard was all lit up, saying, "Where has she been? Where has she been?" Which is kind of nice to hear,
Do you remember the song?
Was fun.
Do you remember the song you sang on Saturday Night Live?
I think I sang a song called "I'm Not Anyone."
Interesting.
I'm not anyone, no, not just anyone. I have the right to lead a life fulfilled with every need. I'm not any girl designed to fit. So it's a really great song today for women's rights.
It is. And you're into women's rights, aren't you?
Yes, I am. What woman isn't?
Well, I don't know. I think my wife.
Is, huh?
I said my wife is in men's rights. She's always telling me what to do.
Oh well, that's what you call a boss. But maybe she's being very lovely and loving to you for you to take care of yourself, and she was taking care of you.
Sometimes.
Ever think of that?
Occasionally. On a Saturday night, when Saturday Night Live's not on.
That's when she takes care of you?
Well, I won't even go into it. But anyway, she on Saturday night, she cooks dinner for me, Swanson's TV dinners.
Oh, my God. We used to love those dinners when we were kids. The chicken. There was a lot. The Swanson TV dinners, the chicken with the potatoes, and then there was a veggie.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And they were in aluminum pans. So, you put them in the oven. Yeah.
Just pop them in the oven. Yeah.
No microwave.
Yeah, there was no microwaves then. No. Long form cooking.
And you were also on one of my favorite shows, Give Me a Break.
Aha. I was. Several times. That was fun.
That was in what, 1983 and 84?
It was never the same. Yeah, it was in the 80s, and it was never the same character. I played different parts every time. It was a fun show. I liked Nell, and all the kids on the show were great. They were very sweet.
Yeah, it was.
I like, that's where the people are, where it's nice and, nice and easygoing and sweet and happy.
Oh, yeah. Then you turned bad in 1994. You got on Howard Stern's show. How did that happen?
Well, I was playing in New York. That wasn't 94. I think that was 93. And I was playing the Supper Club in New York, and I guested on his show. Why do you say I was bad? Because of his show?
Well, no, you weren't bad. I was joking on that because, Howard Stern is not the nicest, politest person in the world.
Yeah. Well, lately he seems to have gotten a lot nicer, and using that side of himself more than the other side. But I remember listening to his show before I went on and saying, "My God, what he's saying about his mother-in-law and his wife! What the heck is he going to do to me?"
Well, that, and he used to have half-nude girls in the studio too, running around.
Well, not when I was there, but he did make comments about your figure or whatever, and I hit him back where it hurt.
Wow.
So yeah, the guys in the studio were saying, "Wow, touche."
And then you were on The Nanny too.
Yeah, I played myself on The Nanny.
Wow.
That was fun. Great cast, great crew, a lot of fun. And it's shown all the time. I'm amazed how often it's shown.
Well, I honestly, Roslyn, I don't watch current TV. I do watch current Resident Alien. I watch that because I love it. But, I like watching old TV shows from the 80s, 70s, 60s because it's entertaining.
You watch the Me Network or the We Network or all that kind of stuff with the old sitcoms and stuff, right?
Yeah, because it was clean and it was fun and I laugh and, the stuff nowadays, maybe I'm at the age, but, I don't like the new stuff. I just don't get into it.
Well, these days I watch either old movies. I love old movies. It's hard to get me to go put the other ones on, but I do now and then when there's a good documentary or whatever. But I usually watch the old movies and I watch the news because the world is, I need to keep up on it.
Oh, we all do. We need to take a quick break, Roslyn. This is about a 2.5 minute break. And when we come back, I got to ask you what actually got you into acting besides your lovely voice and singing. So don't hang up. We're going to be right back with Roslyn. You're listening to Night Dreams Talk Radio. Check out our website for information on our guests at www.nightdreamstalkradio.com. We'll be right back.
Captain Paul Watson was a co-founder of the Greenpeace Foundation in 1972 and the founder of Sea Shepherd in 1977. In 2022, he was forced out of Sea Shepherd in a hostile takeover. So, he established the Captain Paul Watson Foundation to carry on the work they've been doing for half a century with the specific strategy of aggressive nonviolence, which means aggressive intervention without killing or injuring anyone. They took the name he created and the logos he designed, but they couldn't take away his life's mission. The foundation will carry on. This summer, with their new ship, the John Paul DeJoria, they intend to intervene against the Icelandic slaughter of endangered fin whales. And in 2024, they plan to be in the Southern Ocean Whale Sanctuary to stop the return of Japanese whalers who will be defying the International Court of Justice. They have one ship, but they need 2 more. Please visit paulwatsonfoundation.org to become a monthly donor. By becoming a monthly donor, you can help grow their Navy and help save our oceans. We don't survive on this planet with dead oceans. If the oceans die, we die. Please visit now www.paulwatsonfoundation.org. Deep in the Amazon jungle, one man.
Hi, I'm Stan Gordon. Check out the Night Dreams Talk Radio with Gary the Big Guy.
Yeah, let me finish. One man.
Hi, I'm Mark Muncy. Check out Night Dreams Talk Radio with Gary the Big Guy.
Yeah, do you mind? One man, naked and afraid.
I'm losing my mind.
You and me both, sister. One man, Gary the Big Guy. No boats, no lights, no motor cars, not a single luxury.
Hey, any more and you'll have to pay a royalty.
Okay, that's it.
Hit it.
From the summer vacation studios deep in the Amazon jungle, from that tree right there. See at the top, he's swinging.
I'm losing my mind.
Twice? All right. Coming to you live, for now, on Night Dreams Talk Radio, naked and afraid, Gary the Big Guy Anderson.
And we are back with Roslyn. Roslyn, we are back. I got to ask you a question. What got you...
What's that, Gary?
Pardon me?
What's that, Gary? Your question.
Oh, the question is, what got you into acting? Here you have such a beautiful voice and you've recorded music and all that, but what got you into the acting part?
I just think it's part of the industry. I took some classes when I lived in New York, but I really got into it when I moved to Los Angeles. And the AFI had an acting program, and I still hadn't gotten my SAG card yet, so I had my AFTRA card. So I got involved at AFI, and I did a student film, and I got my SAG membership. And I really I got into comedy mostly. I loved doing sitcom, and I thought, wow, I would love a series. To this date, I still haven't gotten my own, which I would love, but I've done theater, and I love doing theater, but I really love doing that weekly comedy series. I was so excited when I was signed to ABC Paramount. Joyce Selznick brought me to the network, and I was really so excited. I lost the first pilot I did was Shelley Long, Barry Van Dyke, Gretchen Weiler, and Stephen Keats. May he rest in peace. And may Gretchen rest in peace. It was called Ghost of a Chance, and Archie Hahn was in it. And had it made it to being programmed, I would have been a spin-off with Archie Hahn on another show. But I lost 2 clothing sizes between Monday and Friday from my adrenaline. I really I laughed. I loved it, and I thought, I would love to do a weekly sitcom. But I did a lot of, I guested on episodics, and then I did some TV movies and theater. Theater's live. I love a live audience as well.
Well, yeah.
But I also loved working in the studio, and learning my craft,
Well, I was watching.
Because acting is singing. Singing is acting,
Yeah, I was listening to you and your sister today on a YouTube one of your songs you were singing, and I tell you, it brought tears to my eyes. I mean, it's your voice, and your sister's voice. We miss that. That's what we don't have anymore.
Well, we're here.
Well, I know, but I'm talking about the new generation coming up,
Oh, yeah. It's a different pool of people. I mean, they're great at what they do. We're just from the older generation, Gary. We have a certain taste also. To see, I mean, like I love the movies when there were love stories and biblical stories I love the music of Nicholas Rosa. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
That's what turned me on all the biblical and the historical extravaganzas in film. I miss that. I miss the big shows, that was our era. It's not, not all the effects. It's all the movies with all the effects and the violence and all this kind of stuff. It wreaks havoc to me in my brain. It creates unrest. We grew up with mostly like love stories and comedies, right? And some drama that made sense. And there's still some good pieces that come out today. But a lot of the market is very, very different. And I feel bad for the kids growing up today that don't get a chance to learn about our era.
Well, some of the movies, you just got into it, like some of the Love Story and all these other type of movies out there. Ruta Lee was on here just a couple of weeks ago, and we were talking about the violence of TV shows. I really like, like Gunsmoke, for example, which she was on Gunsmoke. But you know what I liked about it is you never saw blood. You didn't see blood flying away. Now you watch everything and it's blood everywhere flying.
And there's noise and there's bombing and there's this. It's like sometimes I can't sleep at night, and so I leave the TV on. I'm either going from the news, and then when the news gets bad, I try to find a movie. And then sometimes it's a pleasant movie that I'll fall asleep, and what'll wake me up is the movie has changed now and it's violent, and I'm hearing all the guns and the blasts. I don't like that. It just creates havoc in your system, I think.
It does.
Don't you think?
I think it does. And I really think both video games and the type of movies that's out there is causing kids to grow up and get into crime and to get into their whole morals have changed. And it's because I think society has changed.
Society has changed.
Like Donna Reed's show, Father Knows Best. Right. I grew up that Jack Benny show. I grew up. Now, wait a minute. But, I grew up,
That was good, Gary. That was good. You sounded just like him.
Well, like him being dead, at least. But, you were also in a TV film, Switched at Birth. What did you do in that movie?
I played a lab technician testing the babies. To find out that the blood tests were different, like they couldn't have been with the right family. That was directed by Waris Hussein, and Bonnie Bedelia was in it.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, and I'd like to do more of that too. I don't know if it's in my cards because I'm here really to be, from my past life regression, I'm here to help heal, bring people's hearts together, make the world a better place, encourage other people to do the same, to think from their hearts instead of their power struggle and the money struggle, and love your neighbor as you would love yourself. And let's have like a peaceful and loving world where everybody has the rights and the right opportunities, because we all just want the same things in life. And I would love to see this world be peaceful and loving. I'd like to see everybody not be afraid of what they don't know, but get to know it, understand it, accept it, embrace it, and embrace your similarities. And we all contribute to each other's lives.
So very well put.
Way. I'm so distressed by what's going on in the world today in our country. And I'm always calling. I'm saying the angels of light have to come out, and we've got to clear out this dark, heavy atmosphere of what's going on and bringing us down and separating us all. This wasn't how it should be.
Again, too, with wars going on constantly. And then, people, are so divided in this country more than they ever have been, except for maybe the Civil War.
You have somebody that entered the government that should never have entered it, and he won't get out.
Yeah.
And it was there to begin with, but a lot of stuff was under a rock until he came out. And that was the day I became active in what I would like to see happen in this world to make it better. Was when that person came down an escalator. I knew we were in trouble.
Yeah. Yeah, it's getting worse. I
was never active politically until that happened.
Well,
and I just wish people would open their eyes and understand what he is. It's right in front of their face, and they don't want to see it.
And a lot of people love him, and that's what I'm not going to mention his name on there.
I don't get it. No, do you get it? I don't get it.
I get sick when I think about it. I joke around, Roslyn, on this show. Mm-hmm. I say we should go get a couple of buses. I said it the other night. We get a couple of buses. Mm-hmm. We go down to Skid Row. We buy a couple, mm-hmm. A truckload of wine. We get a whole bunch of winos off the street and replace them with the Congress and the Senate.
Oh my God!
With these street people, they guarantee they'll do better than our politicians are doing right now.
Oh my! It's just horrendous. It's just horrendous. It's so hateful. There's too much hate. There's too much hate. And there's too much power struggle, and they don't realize it. I don't understand. The ones that are like backing Putin, what he wants, they want this country. No, that's not who we are. That's not who we ever were. And we need to bring the light back. We need to bring the light. I'm encouraging everybody that's listening in. Take your light that you were born with, that came from the universe, that God planted in you, the light that's in your heart, and work with that to let's help rid ourselves of this dark time and bring happiness and light back again into our lives.
Well, I think we need to, because the way it's going, it's getting more scary. I look at my grandkids. What type of life are they going to have in the future?
Yes.
That's what I'm scared about.
Exactly. It's horrendous. Whoever thought it would get to this point?
It is. And people, like I said, this country is getting divided, and that makes me sick because, I've been a patriot to this country my whole entire life, and to see what's happening right now, and people can't see, they really are blind what's going on.
They're blind, or they've been buying into lies, and, what is it, ulterior facts, alternative facts. There's no such thing as an alternative fact. A fact is a fact is a fact.
And you're right.
And I don't get it, because he can't even finish a sentence. He can't talk. He's like, what is it you like? Because he calls people names. You call that a president?
I don't know what you call it.
I call it somebody that needs a lot of help.
A straitjacket, actually, but I'm not going to say anything more than that.
No, but I mean, in all honesty, it saddens me. It really saddens me, because this world, if people got it together and came from their hearts, you could have heaven here on earth. You wouldn't have to wait till you passed away. And wouldn't that be lovely?
It would, yes.
If there was understanding and compassion. I don't understand why that's so hard to get. And somebody said to me the other day that people don't want to hear about light things and good things. They love to hear the other, and it's so wrong. Where did we go wrong?
I don't, honestly, think about this, Roslyn, and I don't want to, dwell into politics and all that stuff. But, when COVID started, on the news, I was watching people shoving older people down, people fighting over toilet paper, of all things. I mean, and that was be totally unheard of 10 years ago, 5 years ago. And that is what really alarmed me, how people morals have changed. I mean, really, some little old lady, with a 2-pack, a 4-pack of toilet paper getting shoved down to the ground and somebody yanking the toilet paper right out of her hands.
It was terrible. And I remember that you couldn't always get what you wanted. But we were going through a bad time, and it would be nice if people came from their heart, a little other way that you would learn to cooperate and get through this together.
We need
but
to.
You had people, again, alternative facts and this and that. It's like, it's horrendous. You want some bleach? Swallow some bleach? Put a light up your butt? It's like, give me a break. It makes no sense to me that somebody would listen to that.
Well, they do, and that's the scary part. Now, I want to get back into another a TV movie you made. You did a TV for Hallmark movie, Ladies of the House. What did you do in that movie?
Yeah. I was getting them to sign on to give money to something, or I was the one coming to them to get money for the house that they were putting together. It was fun. It was Flo Henderson and Donna Mills, who I adore. I adore both of those women. And Flo is such a beautiful human being, such fun. And it was great. It was a small role, but it was a fun role.
It's
do more homework if they came to me.
Now, did you like acting on film versus on being on Broadway and performing?
They all have their pluses. On Broadway, you have the plus of the live audience and a live reaction, which, it's like when I even perform in concert, it's the energy of the audience can make a difference in how you perform, But I always am concerned with, before I go on stage, I just talk to the man upstairs and I ask him to let me be a vessel to his message of love and light, and whoever's in my audience, please let them get the message. Please use me in that way. So I look in people's eyes. I have some empathic qualities that I can feel when somebody's not happy, and I sing more toward that person. I love the live experience, and sometimes I come out of a ballad because I hear somebody talking on the side. They're talking about a restaurant. Oh, yeah, that's great. And then I go back into the song. But, those are the things. It's just live audience is a whole other genre, but it's great in its own right. And then film has its, and television has its. They all have their pluses. I would just like all of the material to be positive or lesson learning like it used to be. It's like when you're saying we had cowboys and Indians and stuff, but there was always the good person won, You remember? It was always the good and the bad, but the good always won.
But it's not that way anymore. Nowadays, sometimes the bad win.
Now it's exactly to the point of it really being very, very scary. I like things with a message that teach people something that makes them grow in a good way. Something interesting and something, something heartfelt.
Now, I got to ask you, do you sing around in your house? Do you go around and just sing during the day and
sometimes I sing in my car with the radio. Yeah. The station that I love, which is 103. Oh, I shouldn't say it, right? I'm not supposed to say it.
Well, that's okay. Go ahead. 103 what?
Yeah. 103.5.
Okay.
It's an iHeart radio station.
Oh, we're on iHeart.
It's all the mixes of the music that I loved growing up.
And that's what I like. Music that, again, we were talking at the beginning of the show, it's good music. And I like some of the music it's out there now, but I don't get into it. I don't get the goosebumps that I used to get with good music,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And a good theater piece when you're in the theater. Oh, God, the 11 o'clock number.
How did it, the one video I watched of you and your sister singing a song, and I can't think of the song right now because I'm still starstruck with you being on. The audience just loved it, and your voice is so beautiful.
Which one is it, the one from Tel Aviv or the one from our Canadian and American tour?
Yeah, I think the Canadian American tour.
So it was the Happy Days?
Yes.
And Get Happy, not the Smile, because in Europe we did Smile.
Well, I heard Smile today, too, when I was listening to some of your stuff.
But on the other hand, have you listened to my new song that's out there and my new video?
No. What is that?
Oh, my God. You haven't listened to The Look of Love in the Island, which has an accompanying video?
I'm sorry.
It came out on Valentine's Day?
I'm sorry.
Ooh, you got it before we leave. You got to tell your audience about that.
Well, why don't you? I mean, what?
Okay.
Okay. What was it like to record it and all that? Come on, tell everybody.
Well, basically I did. Each of those songs are from the 70s, and I used to do them separately by themselves in my show, different shows, different times. And one day when I was putting another show to go out again on the road, I said to myself, I wonder what these two songs would sound like together in a medley. And so we dabbled around with it, my musical director and I, and it turned out so beautifully that I started singing it when I was working with just piano and then the trio. And then I said, I have to have this fully orchestrated, which got completed with my record producer, Stefan Oberhoff, in the studio. And then to put it out, it took me a while to get it out, but I have to do a video. And even though I've done videos for my other songs, they were always stock footage that I produced. This one, it's my first time as a first-time producer starring in my own music video. And it's a live cast, and everybody was wonderful. The crew and everybody came from their hearts. Everybody had light within them, and it was the most joyous experience you could ever hope for. And the result is a 6-minute mini movie. And the message is that don't give up on love. You can have love at any age. And and you can even have love that you lost in the beginning, find you again. And then people have told me they even get more messages. And the other message is love is love is love, because I have a scene in a cafe where I have mixed couples and gay couples and just subliminally kind of just saying love is love. People have the right to love whom they want. Why do you be happy? I wanted it to be joyous and women of all ages, because a lot of my friends were telling me that women are always afraid when they reach a certain age that they're not going to find love anymore. And you can't be afraid. Open your heart and know that you can have it. It is there. But you have to, everybody's got to learn to love themselves first, because how do you share love if you don't love yourself?
You can't. If you don't love yourself, you're not going to be able to love somebody else.
Exactly. But this really meant a lot to me, and the two songs just, melded together beautifully. We went back in time. There is the person that is playing me when I'm younger, 40 years before, and my love interest now, somebody playing him 40 years before. And we made the most beautiful, heart-rendering video. And I hope everybody gets on YouTube to see it and writes comments to us. It's it's released digitally all across the digital board as a song on Spotify and Amazon and Apple and all the digital platforms. And it's a video on YouTube.
And do you check YouTube and read the comments people make about it?
I read some. Yeah, I do. And I read the comments that they post on my Facebook pages and my Instagram. And I reply.
Wow. How can I get an autographed picture? No, anyway, yeah. That is really Well, Roslyn, our time is up, and I really, really enjoyed you. And people can find you, on Facebook?
On Facebook, and they can find me on Instagram, and I'm on TikTok. Even though it's rare for somebody our age, from our era, to be on there, I hope people find me on there.
Well, people find me on TikTok.
Oh yeah? Oh, that's good, because it's like positive messages. It's good stuff. So I hope. I'm new to it, and I'm just so terrible at the internet and stuff. So I have somebody, helping me with that, because I don't have the wherewithal. What takes me a day to do, it takes somebody else 2 seconds.
Well, that's why too, in my family, if I have a problem like on a computer, my wife is a computer person. That's what she does for a living. And but she goes, "No, you figure it out yourself, because you were in computers in the 80s." And I said, "Honey, the computers and technology has changed since the 80s. We're in, this."
Oh my God. I remember the first computer I had was a Hewlett Packard, and all I used it for was accounting, keeping my records. Because I took bookkeeping my last year in high school, just so that I was always good at math. So I thought, let me have this background. And so for years I did a 14-column ledger to keep track of my expenses. And then it turned into the computer, and the first one I had was the Hewlett Packard. Do you remember that one?
Oh, Hewlett Packard, yeah.
Oh, gosh.
NK Pro and all that other computers. Boy, you're letting everybody know how old we are. You know that.
Oh, it's terrible. It's terrible, isn't it?
Yeah.
We can't escape it. But what you said earlier is right. It's how you feel. It's how you feel inside.
It is. You know what?
I'll tell you,
my body.
You do feel like an older person. Sometimes you feel like an older person, but sometimes you don't. Sometimes you say, I can't be that age.
Well, I'll be honest with you, Roslyn. I always tell people I might look like an old fart, but my brain feels like I'm only 16.
That's great. You keep that. That's a great way to feel. That is wonderful.
Well, hey, Roslyn, I want to thank you so much. Check out her Facebook page. Say hi to her, will you? And again,
check my YouTube, too. Check out my YouTube page.
Yeah, and listen to her music.
Channel. Yeah.
Hey, Roslyn?
And write us comments.
Please, say hi to her. And again, I want to thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it. I want you to have a great weekend, will you?
And I want the same for you, Gary.
Okay.
I want the same for everybody. I wish everybody a beautiful weekend filled with happiness and love and fun and light.
Please do. And everybody, you take care. And
thank you. You too.
Okay, kid. You have a good one. And thank you.
You too. See you.
And bye.
My pleasure.
Well, JC, what do we got coming up?
We've got Glen Stecking coming up with some UFO updates.
And that's coming up here just in a couple minutes. We're going to take about a 5-6 minute break. I got, G-Man keeps calling me. I mean, I can be in the studio. You know that, JC? I can be in the studio during the day. I'm getting a phone call from, oh God, he's just like torturing me. The G-Man is.
Yeah, he asked a hard question there, Gary.
Oh, he keeps asking me, why am I still in broadcasting?
Yeah, well, something like that. You got a face for it, I think he said.
Yeah, he said I had a face that actually burns the radio. burns the radio. So we're going to be right back in a couple minutes. We got this going, a recording that the G-Man sent me. So it's going to be interesting. So it's pre-recorded, this about 7 minutes of it. And then we're going to be back with Glen Strickland. We're going to talk about UFO news. And then our third guest, we're going to talk about crime, missing people, cold cases. So stay tuned. You're listening to, Gary's Night Dreamers Talk Radio.
I've been walking around, waiting for for better confirmation. Yeah, I'm heading for the station. I can feel love is real. Now you try. If you're willing to just come along with me, we can feel no more lies. A simple dream of you and
Night Dreamers, the call-in line is open. Chat with Gary.
Coming to you from the Night Dreams Talk Radio Network newsroom, I'm Guy Ticker with the strange news. Aliens could be trying to get our attention via supernova-timed beacons. A recent SETI search for extraterrestrial intelligence effort focused on a famous supernova from 1987, working under the premise that aliens might use such events to draw attention to themselves with synchronized beacons. Although this hunt came up short, it lays the groundwork for future searches using the same innovative strategy. I'm Guy Ticker. The Strange News is brought to you by Night Dreams Talk Radio Network. Do you have a strange story? Contact us at nightdreamstalkradio.com. What if none of the theories about UFOs are true? Because the truth is far more exotic than we imagine. Dr. Hazeltine, Director of Research at NSA, and mind-body expert Dr. Gilbert take us to the very edge of imagination and beyond in The New Science of UFOs, New Insights into an Old Mystery. The book is jam-packed with breathtaking photos. It's a thrilling exploration of cutting-edge ideas that former CIA Director Michael Hayden called entertaining, understandable, and important. The New Science of UFOs, New Insights into an Old Mystery is available now on Amazon. Get your copy now of The New Science of UFOs, New Insights into an Old Mystery, available now at Amazon.com. Are you into the paranormal? Then you have found the right place. Night Dreams covers the topics you want to hear, and Gary always has a great guest to take you for a real ride in talk radio. So, buckle up, and let's go for that ride with Gary.
And we are back. Our call-in line is 1-253-203-6777. That's 1-253-203-6777. Let's take our first call for the evening.
Hello? Like I got all the time in the world to waste on this. Hey, Gary, you got all them buttons and dials pushed the right way? Oh, you can hear me. Excellent. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the G-Man again, and I'm doing this out of the goodness of my heart because for some reason I want you all to stay alive.
Yeah, sure you do. We are blessed with the G-Man. It seems like weekend after week after week. Well, G-Man, what do you have to say tonight?
Oh, I'm sorry. Did the middle of my sentence interrupt the beginning of yours? Be quiet for a second.
Okay.
All right, look. I was doing some reading the other day on the internet, and I came across something that is very, very frightening to me, and I have to share it because it is a matter of life and death. There's and I printed this out here. There's an email series from somebody named Anonymous NASA Official 6. Now, what that immediately tells me is that there's at least 5 other guys also from NASA who are in on this thing.
Yeah, sure they are. They're into what thing? G-Man, where do you come up with this stuff?
And it's all about the current moon shots and the planned moon landing. And you say to yourself, well, we've been there, we've done that. I thought it was Mars. Why are we going back to the moon? Because the moon happens to be inhabited by people who don't like us very much. And I loosely call them people.
Yeah, sure you call them people. Why don't you call them aliens, what they are? You know, little green men. You know, they're on the moon because they like eating cheese, evidently, G-Man. Yeah, what do you got to that?
You're as sharp as a rubber ball. It's a wonder you don't fall down more.
I do.
The point of my bringing this up here is that we now know and have definitive understanding of a race of creatures, let's call them that live on the dark side of the moon that have been angry at us for decades because we littered up their planet, and they're coming back, and we are on the menu. Oh, no, don't look so shocked. Let me explain this. I'll tell you what these notes said from anonymous NASA official 6. And it reads, the reason we got to get up there is we have to neutralize, that means eliminate or quash, the threat of these creatures that inhabit the moon coming back over here and visiting us and picking up, lunch, dinner, maybe breakfast for tomorrow.
Well, I got barbecue sauce, G-Man. Why don't we invite them over to your place? I'm not going to invite them in my place anymore. Let's invite them over to your place because I hear they like us of more ways than one, Mr. G-Man.
Will you stop? You give me 2 lousy minutes to save the whole world and you interrupt me. You are why the gene pool needs a lifeguard. So let me get back to these emails that are posted on the internet here for all the people to read and get ignored. Many years ago, somewhere in the late 1950s, in a place called Ithaca, New York, there was a man named Rod Serling. You know him. He wrote The Twilight Zone. Very good, very understanding of the way things work. And there was a scientist guy, the billions and billions guy. His name was Carl Sagan. Anyway, the two of them was, that's where Cornell University is. Very, very smart bunch of guys up there.
Yeah.
And Carl Sagan was looking out into space and found these guys coming to Earth, another one of those sightings or whatever it might be, but they got all the telescopes up there and picking up people to enjoy in a food-like way. So he tells his buddy, Rod Serling, about this, and Serling goes and writes a teleplay. That's a TV show thing, and it's called To Serve Man. Now, he twisted it a little, made the aliens come from a little further away, whatever, but he knew these guys were getting into their spaceships, coming here, picking up guys and cooking them. That was the premise of the show. And it was meant not for the entertainment of the masses, but it was meant to alert the government in a non-threatening way that we better get up to the moon and kick some butt.
Yeah, kick some butt. Yeah. Are you getting this information by watching, the Twilight Zone, Outer Limits and stuff like that?
Hey. Perfect, but at least I'm not you. Anyway,
Thank you.
My point is that you better be on guard. You better support our guys going back to the moon to take care of these scoundrels, because if you don't, you're going to wind up being dinner. Look them up, Sagan and Serling. It's all online. The G-Man has done his part. I have given you the knowledge to defend yourself and your planet. And Gary, listen, next time, use glue instead of chapstick. Goodbye!
I really appreciate that, G-Man. I appreciate your intelligent conversations when you call in on Fridays. I tell you that. Mr. G-Man, what can I say? Well, we'll be right back. And hopefully we have somebody more illiterate than the G-Man. We'll be right back. So stay tuned. I think.
Pyramids and the Great Floods is a must-get, must-read fascinating new book by John Shaughnessy. Discover the purpose of the global pyramids and how an advanced Type 3 society used them to control global floods and reduce the impact of instant ice ages. In 1997, a geologist discovered 30 times the Earth's surface oceans located below the upper mantle, the source of Noah's floodwaters. While cataclysm researchers have been looking to the heavens for the doomsday catalyst, it turns out that all the while, it's been right under our very feet. Hell really is down below. Pyramids and the Great Floods describes in full detail how ancient past societies use the global pyramids to lower the damage of floods. You will be amazed. Pyramids and the Great Floods by John Shaughnessy. Get it now on Amazon in paperback and on Amazon Kindle. Are you into the paranormal? Then you have found the right place. Night Dreams covers the topics you want to hear. And Gary always has a great guest to take you for a real ride in talk radio. So, buckle up and let's go for that ride with Gary.
Well, we're back. Well, what do you have for the ETs on the moon, JC?
What do I have for them?
Yeah.
Whatever they want. I know that Mr. Glen, he's done a lot of research into ETs on the moon and even Mars too, Gary. Plus the structures. Allegedly there's structures there, and our astronauts, they kind of ran into them, allegedly.
Well, we have Glen back on, and I tell you what, I'd rather have Glen back on than the G-Man. I'll tell you that. Glen, how are you doing?
Good evening, Gary. It's good to be with you.
Oh, you've been staying out of trouble?
Not if I can help it.
So, what is going on in the news of UFOs?
Well, based on the commentary your previous fellow just talked about, all I can say is that, my God, there's so much nonsense perpetrated around in this field. Threats to try to make people scared. Nobody comes here from outer space to eat you or want to eat you. That's absolute ridiculous nonsense. The reason we've gone back to the moon is because the moon is a platform for all kinds of minerals, helium-3, energy-producing minerals, a litany of precious metals, and also it's a perfect platform in which to build larger spacecraft in order to travel. It's a jumping point off into the rest of the solar system. So on the back side of the moon and on the front side of the moon, there have been photographs of other ET bases, such as in Gassendi Crater, the 1930s photograph that I showed you that has all the construction within it. And so this effort, in order to make this UFO field look ridiculous and threatening, and God only knows what else, is a constant hindrance to the serious talk and the serious thoughts on this particular field.
Well, it's really gotten outrageous in the last couple of years, Glenn. Again, these people who are coming as whistleblowers, I don't believe half of them. I really don't. I don't know what your feeling is.
Well, first of all, you have to understand that any of the internal personnel, whether it happens to be military or scientific or what have you, they all sign secrecy papers that never expire. They're good for your life. It can never be rescinded, and you can never get out of its coverage. And they admittedly say, as we know from the recent whistleblower hearings, that the Pentagon has to approve anything and everything that is printed and said by these people. So that leads you to believe that these messengers, to some degree, not to 100%, I think some of them honestly believes what they're saying. It doesn't mean that what they're being told is accurate. But I think that when you know that somebody else behind your shoulder is vetting what you can present and what you can say, then they are absolutely 100% selecting and looking through all the material that you are giving out. And they don't allow you to give out anything that they don't already approve. And so when you listen to some of the whistleblowers, I find a piece of information that is accurate, followed by a plethora of misinformation that is injected to the story. And so the misinformation overwhelms the little piece of accuracy, and so then the whole agenda goes in that divergent direction. And so, some of the information is true, and we already know. Roswell's effect, Cape Girardeau in 41, and these recoveries in many different countries over the last 100 years. And so the usage of this material, then they know they cannot be suppressed any longer. So then they know, well, the best thing to do is let out a piece of it, and then we'll piggyback on the back of it a whole bunch of garbage, and then we can re-corrupt the entire message, just like I just recently saw. In fact, it was today. The proponents of shape-shifting aliens. I mean, this comes straight out of Star Trek and straight out of science fiction, and it completely negates the entire realism of extraterrestrial visitations. And people like to have their imaginations excited. That's what they go to horror movies for and sci-fi things, so that they can be impacted by their emotional sensationalisms. But none of that is based in truism or fact. It is claimed, how convenient to claim that the alien is a shapeshifter, because you cannot prove any of that. You cannot supply any fact or foundation to it, because the moment this person is told, all right, give us the facts, show us the money, so to speak, the proof. Then they say, oh, well, the alien isn't there anymore. He turned into a chair.
Yeah.
And then the chair turned into a bunny and hopped away. I mean, this is borders on ludicrous. We are back to the time of the 1970s and late 60s, in which we are turning this whole UFO subject into a zoo.
I was going to say carnival. Now, can I get you to do me one favor?
Sure.
Get the microphone a little bit closer, because you're breaking up at times there.
Okay, here, this is better?
Yeah, that's a lot better. But, it's true. I had Steve Bassett on the show, and I have a lot of respect. He was on last week, and, he's saying it's just like a month away again, and there's going to be major disclosure.
I mean, how many times have they told us this ridiculous carrot? They told you that in the 60s already, when they were hoping to. There was actually the serious effort then with Major Kehoe and Admiral Hillenkotter, Colonel Freeman, the John McCormick, who was Speaker of the House, Barry Goldwater. All these people were involved in order to try to get this to come out, and the CIA, who controls all the investigative materials, photographs, recordings, and data, they took over from the Air Force in the 50s, and they just flat out told everybody in Congress, to go take a flying leap. It wasn't any of their business to know this information. And then in 92, I was in a lecture, and some person came up to me and said, hey, in 6 months, this is all going to be revealed. And I said, good luck. That's a fairy dream, a fairy tale. And that's the same thing in 92, and that's the same thing now. And this is just the carrot to keep the people somewhat interested, because if you don't do that, then their attention is going to go to something else, and none of these people will get any recognition or traction.
No, and they're not going to be able to write books either, because no one's going to buy them.
Well, yeah, that's to some degree that's true. There's a loyal contingent of people that will buy anything that comes out in the market, and that's probably part of the problem too, is that there's so much bombardment of material that there's no way that any logically or rational thinking person can read all of this stuff and not walk away totally confused, their brain totally fried and sizzled, because each one contradicts the other. Each one is more nefarious than the other. And so, this is a profitability. This becomes a cottage market, so to speak, and for people to make money. And I think that personally, I find that is very despicable.
Honestly, Glenn, I think some of them watch sci-fi or watch some of the cable channels on UFOs, right? Those movies.
Yes.
And then that's where they get all their information. And then they write a book.
That's true. That's true. You'll have noticed that shortly after a major sci-fi release, like for instance Stargate, all of a sudden within a month, all these people start coming forward with their Stargate experiences or their Stargate predictions. After the movie Avatar, then somebody claimed to see blue aliens with tails and webbed feet. And I mean, it's just, it is, it is the psychological study of people who are still infantile in their thinking.
I don't know, but it's gotten really bad. Again, tell me if I'm wrong, but what my understanding of reading what's happened is basically all this stuff on disclosure is sealed for 25 years. And it's at that point, at the 25-year mark, whoever is president, if we're still here, can either, release it, part of it, or seal it for another 25 years. Am I right on that?
It's sealed for a lot longer than that. And in fact, the president has absolutely no jurisdiction over this information. If the president were to walk into the Pentagon or to CIA headquarters or NSA headquarters and say, I'm here to see the full file on this and this and this and this, they'll say, sorry, it's above your your classification. And so this erroneous thought that the presidents, I believe, pretty much since the time of Jimmy Carter, the presidents have been very superficially briefed only based upon a need to know. And they do not have access to this information at its true level. And so consequently, we have greater forces that are involved with the accumulation and coverage of this particular information. 25 years is nothing. Look at the assassination of Lincoln. It's still under lock and key because they don't want to let the American people know that it was a overall conspiracy by the Secretary of War, Stanton, because he wanted to be president and take over. And so he went ahead and planned with the Confederate-liked people in order to get rid of Lincoln. And under circumstances very similar to the Kennedy assassination, where all communication was cut off to the Washington and everything was suppressed for a certain period of time in order to keep this too much information leaking out. And so they're not going to let go of anything that incriminates them. Why would they be that stupid?
Well, that's it. And I think right now, Glenn, there's more disinformation hitting the airwaves because all the podcasts out there, all the shows like this, that's all they talk about. They talk about Bigfoot, UFOs. That's why I decided on Fridays I bring actors and actresses on and other people in the entertainment. I'm getting burnt out. How many nights a week can you talk about UFOs?
Well, that's true because if the subject was addressed in a rational, logical, scientific manner, then answers would be produced. And the people in the UFO community, the last thing they want are tangible answers because that shuts them down. When you get a tangible answer, a definitive, then you know something is or isn't. And then you move on, where it's much more productive and lucrative to keep stirring the pot of mystery and sci-fi fantasy in order to maintain this particular interest. For instance, I'll give you an example. One caller I had on another show talked about the biblical times that talked about the giants of men who came down and had relations with human women. Well, first of all, we know from biology that you cannot reproduce if you're an unlike species. Nature doesn't allow it. The mouse can't reproduce with the crocodile, and the elephant can't reproduce with the lion. You have to be of the same species in RNA and DNA. Secondly, the word giant doesn't mean somebody 20 feet tall. This means somebody who is enormous in stature, in character, in knowledge. Remember, we used to call at the turn of the century, the giants of industry, whether it was Astor or Rockefeller or any of these people. This doesn't mean they were 20 feet tall. This means that they were just incredibly efficient and profitable with their ideas and their ability to bring it to market. I mean, heck, we got a baseball team called the Giants. In 500 years, is somebody going to turn up a newspaper article and think that all the players are 20 feet tall? Of course not. The misinterpretation and the misrepresentation that is being promoted in this field is just, I don't think there's a word for it. It's incredible, is basically what it is. It's beyond belief, if one wanted to use that catchphrase.
Well, I've been doing this for well over 50 years. And I tell you, in the last 2 years, it's getting this like, wow. And I got to ask you a question that a lot of people keep emailing me about. Paperclip, Admiral Byrd going to Antarctica, the Nazis, UFOs, the sinking of the ship, and all the troops and the plane loss. But you know what? When I did actual research on that, Glenn, I didn't find any ships being sunk.
No, it's nothing but accusation. We are living in a time now when somebody pops up and hurls an accusation. In fact, they just did this the other day against George Adamski, which they're trying to continually make stick, that his photographs were of Nazi craft. Well, first of all, and I've got a show to do next month with a particular person who's the proponent of that, and I can't wait, because we've got photographs back to 1918 of these craft over Europe. Well, the Nazis didn't come into power until 1933. Peenemünde didn't work up till 1939. And so anything prior to that time can't be the Nazis. And if the Nazis develop spaceships that are comparable and capable of doing 20,000 miles an hour in our atmosphere, and going, and even more ludicrous, build cigar-shaped carrier crafts in orbit that are several miles long, which is all beyond the capability of any government or state on this particular planet. I mean, really, do they really expect us to believe and accept this garbage? Of course the Germans went down there and took a piece of Antarctica. They colonized it, not any different than we colonized Africa and India and all over the world. Each country, major power, went down there and carved a piece of Antarctica out for themselves because it was a smash and grab time. And they set up meteorological stations, scientific exploration, and everything like this. And so, my God, you know. And secondly, this misnomer that everybody in Germany was a Nazi and everybody in the military was a Nazi is absolutely garbage. The Nazi Party was a separate faction of the rest of the military state, and only the SS was required to be totally subservient to the Nazi Party. I mean, the misnomers and pure ignorance in this field is beyond description.
And let's be honest, too. Like I mentioned to a guest the other night, if Germany during World War II had technology of UFOs and all this other stuff, they would have won the war.
Oh, they could have easily beat anybody and everybody.
Yeah.
Let's face it, it's not possible. Why did we work so hard to prevent them from acquiring nuclear technology and then took all their scientists and divvied them up between the Soviets and ourselves in order to produce an atomic weapon if they already had flying saucers and could go in and out of space and be in any place on the planet within minutes or hours? I mean, come on, people. I mean, really, you know, does that make sense to you?
But to some people, you know, they think that it does. They figured that the Nazis went up to Mars and created a base on Mars. And I don't know, some of these people are really ludicrous in their thoughts. I blame it because, again, we have to be honest with you, what you see on your TV and movies and TV shows, what books are coming out, you know, it's just a bunch of hogwash. A lot of it is. And, you know, the last time you were on, I mentioned about Bob Lazar. Boy, did I get hate mail. Email.
Oh, of course they're going to give you hate mail. And who cares? Because anybody who was involved in that field at that particular time knew very well what Bob Lazar was.
He checked badges for radiation in the labs. That's what he did. And he got fired, too.
Anybody who had a contract with NASA, and think about this. When NASA gets a contract to build, let's say, the Apollo spacecraft, well, that's subcontracted out to all the defense industry businesses and corporations. And so anybody downstream of that who worked in the candy store across the street could say, well, you know, I'm a NASA employee, when they're only a sub of a subcontractor. I know the case of Mr. Lazar very well, and there's nothing in this world that can convince me that he was, you know.
Well, we got to take a break in a bit, but I'll say this. I did a lot of research for the years, and I'll be honest with you. I talked to John Lear 2 weeks before he died, and he confessed up to me about Bob Lazar. For years they were good friends, but for some reason, he said that a lot of stuff Bob Lazar didn't ever happen. But what gets me is if you went to all these colleges and institutes that Bob Lazar went to and got degrees, can you imagine nobody ever came up and said, well, I remember him. I remember sitting next to him. I remember him doing his homework. I shared a dorm with him. Nobody has ever come out and said that they saw him in any of these colleges.
Well, and there it is. This is the bottom line. Show us the proof. And I think that was very well stated by one particular officer. He said, if you feel differently or if you want to propose something, show us the proof. I'm not interested in innuendo, theory, opinion, none of those things. They mean nothing. Proof. And none of these people can do it.
Okay, Glenn, we're going to take about a 3-minute break. When we come back, let's talk about more. What sightings or whatever you want to talk about. So stay tuned. We're going to be back with Glenn right after this. You're listening to, me, Gary, on Night Dreams.
I've never been one for wishing, then you came along. I've never been one for fighting. I've never been one for hoping.
What if none of the theories about UFOs are true? Because the truth is far more exotic than we imagine. Dr. Hazeltine, Director of Research at NSA, and mind-body expert Dr. Gilbert take us to the very edge of imagination and beyond in The New Science of UFOs, New Insights into an Old Mystery. The book is jam-packed with breathtaking photos. It's a thrilling exploration of cutting-edge ideas that former CIA Director Michael Hayden called entertaining, understandable, and important. The New Science of UFOs, New Insights into an Old Mystery is available now on Amazon. Get your copy now of The New Science of UFOs, New Insights into an Old Mystery, available now at Amazon.com.
I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world. And yet, I ask you, is not an alien force already among us?
Night Dreams brings on the night worldwide. Did you know you can find us on your favorite app? And now you can watch us live on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe to our channel and give us a thumbs up. And now, here's Gary.
And wait a minute, there's another UFO in my backyard. No, we are back with Glen. And, again, I just get frustrated with these people, that claim stuff like, Pacific Ocean, right off of California, there's a tunnel big enough for a UFO to go from the Pacific Ocean all the way to Area 51.
Why there? Why bother if you can, according to all these people, that these crafts are so fast, which is true, they can fly faster than the human eye can see, and most people aren't looking up and paying any attention either. So why in the world would you build a tunnel from the Pacific Ocean to go to Area 51 for? I mean, that That makes no sense whatsoever.
Well, that's because it's a secret. You know that. We don't want anybody but the fishes to see them.
Oh, who built the tunnel?
Well, people from Nebraska built it.
Yeah, exactly. Well, let's take a look at this thing in a little bit more positive light. You know, we were going to talk here about some of the revelations that have come about due to the interest in UFOs and the space program, and we continue to find more and more the environment for the sustaining of life as we know it on this planet, on other planets as well. The recent article says that a Venus breakthrough, that NASA found evidence of enough water to support abundant life. Now, before they tell you that the temperature is 800 degrees, well, we all know water vaporizes and boils at 212 degrees. So if there's abundant water, then how come it didn't boil if it's the temperature and vaporize that they claim it to be? Because it isn't. And we know that. And so we continue to propose and promote information based upon ancient theories that are no longer of any practical use, because if we come out publicly and say too much, people are going to start to think. Here's another one, talks about on Mars, Korolev, the crater, 50-mile wide sheet of solid ice, 1 mile thick. Well, you know, ice means water. And since we know the temperature on Mars varies between 80 or so degrees in Fahrenheit to lower temperatures, that means water evaporates. Ice evaporates and turns into water, anything above 32 degrees. So you got water, you got atmosphere. So, you know, it keeps dominoing from that particular point. And so we also had released an article having to do that we once proposed to detonate a boy, we are some stupid people. Detonate a hydrogen bomb on the moon. Hey, maybe the visitors who are on that particular area that have a base and observe us, and we go and observe them, and we have a lively exchange with them. That doesn't mean threatening. That doesn't mean that they want to eat us, or vice versa. This has to do with an exchange with people from other worlds, just like you would go and fly to China and have an exchange with people from China. And so, the idea that we have turned everything into an aggressive possibility or motif in this space field is that we have to watch out for that, because that mentality will then reverse itself, and then we will have this kind of activity of nuclear explosions, and we've already talked about that due to the conflicts that we're seeing around the world right now, and the superpowers talking about reinstating the testing of atomic weapons. I mean, we tested over 2,000 atomic weapons. I mean, it's like cows. How many cows do you have to look at to understand what a cow is? How many times do you have to blow a bomb up to understand that this is how it blows up and this is the consequences from it? I mean, we are insane with our inability to control our basic thoughts and our basic functions.
Well, I'll be honest with you. Putin yesterday or the day before kind of threatened the Western countries, basically about, even the United States could get a free nuke.
Well, yes, there's talk about that. Let us hope that the politics of these type of insinuations is enough to make people stop and think a little bit. I mean, there's not a whole lot of rational thinking. I personally don't feel that a little country that borders the Soviet Union, or the Russia now, that borders that, is capable of sustaining a long, protracted war against a much larger, more well-equipped, more financed government and country. Sooner or later, there has to be some attempt to find a negotiated agreement. And I think that as long as we keep financing this particular endeavor, that this will continue to escalate, because there is no incentive for people to come together and sit down and finally get these things worked out.
Yeah, but Glenn, what are they going to do down the road? I mean, they're taking people now older than, well, a little bit younger than me, up in their upper 60s, and giving them a weapon and putting them out And to think about it, the young kids, the young people are almost all gone. So, I mean, they're killing off their population. I mean, they can't continue on much longer because they're not going to have anybody to fight. What are they going to do? Put women out there next?
Well, I have no idea. Neither side are winners in this, and I don't feel that throwing billions upon billions of taxpayer dollars that we work so hard for and tell our citizens and our elderly and our veterans and our disabled veterans that they all can take a flying leap. They mean nothing to this government because we are willing to finance everybody else's insurrections, but we're not willing to take care of our own people who are paying for these funds. And I think our own government has walked away from the idea that they are responsible caretakers of these monies and not just have a free blank check to do whatever they want. So I think we are just as guilty as they are.
And you're right. We got a caller. Let's take the caller and see what question he has. Who do we have?
This is Tom, and my question for Glen is, in his opinion, what does he feel it's going to take for real, viable disclosure to happen in this country?
Well, I think, first of all, real viable disclosure will have to come through pressure from all the other countries. Because right now we're the big dog and we have controlled the accessibility of information, whether it happens to be the UK or France or anywhere else. We hold the purse strings. And so consequently, they step in march to what we tell them to do and say based upon what we hold back from them, whether it's foreign aid or military supplies or what have you. And so we will not willingly do that. The only thing that I can think the possibility is as if these crafts would come in large numbers into our atmosphere. Now, they have already come in large numbers to some degree. The Israeli military fellow that recently said, well, the aliens are not coming because they're hiding so as to not terrify us. Well, it's absolute bull. I mean, these crafts have been in a recorded history for thousands of years, and just in the 1940s and 50s, they flew over the nation's capital in formation, over London, over Paris, over Rome for a week in the Vatican. All over the world in nations' capitals and countries have they made themselves viable and seeable. So this idea that they're hiding because we can't control our emotions is nonsense. And so, but if they would come in large numbers, then we have a twofold problem. One, because of the science fiction genre and the type of divergent information that has been pushed to scare the people through the through the manifestations of, shall we say, questionable abduction recollections, the people are going to right away panic. I mean, it will be 1930s all over again with Orson Welles and the War in the Worlds. And so I think we have promoted that for that very reason, so that we will not be inducive to contact, to interaction, because if they would come in large numbers, then all of a sudden we can no longer maintain this facade that we maintain, whether it's economic or any other. So I would think that would be the only pressure point, and from what I've been told, they said they would not do such a thing because they respect life too much, and they feel that time is not a matter. They don't live by time. They say that time is not existent in the universe, and so if we're not ready for this now, then maybe in 500 years we'll be. It makes no difference to them.
That was a good question, Tom, you had. You think about this, Glenn, are we even going to be here 500 years from now to find out?
I have my serious doubts.
I do. I every day I wake up and I say, oh, my God, another day, because you never know anymore.
Yes, that's true.
Again, too, about disclosure, again, people are coming out and making all these claims, like I said, Steve Bassett was on last week. He said it's just a matter of another month. The president's going to come out. The Senate's going to come out. They're going to release all this major information. And, like I said, I really respect him. But, I'm tired of this. This is like leading people on and on. How long can this keep going on?
Well, people like him have said that for what now, 20 years, and nothing's happened. Well, ever since 92, in fact, and nothing has happened. And so we'll wait another month, and when it doesn't happen, then what excuse is it going to be this time? It is convenient to make predictions when you're not held accountable for them when they don't come about. And then you can just roll over and say, oh, well, I must have missed the calendar a little bit. Maybe we'll push it another 3 months or another 6 months or whatever. Look at the Navy films of the UFOs that we have seen in the news over the last 5 years. Those were initially photographed in 2006. We're almost 20 years after the fact, and you haven't got yourself a decent answer.
No.
I mean, who's kidding who here?
Well, that's the whole thing. Honestly, if you lie long enough, how do you come clean? And that's what's been going on. They haven't been given any disclosure. They basically have been brushing it off, giving disinformation. And now, if all of a sudden they did announce we are being visited or people maybe being abducted, God, people are coming out of the woodwork claiming that they're being abducted. Why would they keep abducting people and taking their DNA? I mean, come on, people. I don't buy all this stuff.
Well, yeah, I absolutely agree with you. And as I said in my new book that I released here just a few months ago, just before the end of last year, it's called The UFO Reality, Can Truth Prevail? And it's available from eBay. And it took me years to compose that book. And because I wanted to give people something substantial that gave them answers. And the first part of it has to do with our family's history over 50-some years in this field. But the second section is called a reality check. It says one chapter is UFO history corrupted? Yes. Mass sightings? Absolutely. Misnomers and falsehoods? Yes. Why the deception about going to the moon? There is no deception. We went to the moon. That is a total 100% substantiated fact. And then the promotion of fear, manipulation, the illusion of disclosure, and questioning the alien abductions. These are all addressed in that book. And I have been doing that and talking about these subjects for decades. And so, when you think that 150 million people or more in this country alone are affected by mental disorders, sleep deprivation, pharmaceutical repercussions, drug-related hallucinations. I mean, my God, it's not a laughing matter that more than half our population, or 1 out of 2, suffers from these kind of delusionary things. And so, if one person says, "Well, I felt this and this and this, I must have been abducted," then the next person says, "Well, gee, I had similar symptoms, I must have been abducted too." Nobody questions it deeper or more thoroughly. And it has nothing to do with abductions. I mean, once again, how many of you do they have to look at? It's nonsense.
Well, if they have to look at me, quite a few, I'll be honest with you. But that's just it. Again, oh, yes, they taken my DNA. They experimented with me. Oh, come on. If that was the case, they were taking DNA from tens of thousands of people a month. These people are coming out of the woodwork. There's a lot of them that want to come on this show. I won't bring them on.
Well, that's right. And even Carl Sagan made that statement, which I included in the book as well. If the numbers would be true and accurate, every other person would be disappearing in your neighborhood. And obviously that's not happening. And secondly, the RNA and DNA and the amino acids and the organic molecules that produce life surround us in space. You don't have to travel hundreds of millions of miles or light years in order to find one planet that has it. Between us and the next solar systems, Alpha Centauri or Wolf 359 and some other ones, are all within a 12 light year arc of our solar system. All has innumerable planets and suns, and you look at the Webb telescope, and the photographs into just 2 inches of space is filled with trillions of manifestations. And so this idea that somebody has to come here just to sample your DNA, I mean, come on. They've got the instrumentation to do that sitting on the couch in space, orbiting the Earth, and using their instrumentation to read your thoughts and your bodily functions and your atomic structure down to the molecular level. They never have to come here and risk doing this kind of nefarious. No, this is pure imagination. And I know people don't like me for saying this, but I have always been a straight shooter. I don't mince words, and I don't care who likes it and who doesn't.
Well, I'm not saying that some people maybe in the past or maybe in the future could be abducted, but I'm saying that 99.999%, I think they need medication. That's all.
Well, either that or if they've had too much medication. And you think you got hate mail over Bob, you're going to get plenty about this. But the numbers don't. The truth, the reality, does not sustain their claims. Once again,
Glenn, here's the thing, and we only got like about 8 minutes left. I will say this. I have had a lot of people in the past that claim that they've been abducted or they have had encounters and this and that. But, and taken on a craft. But you know what happens is you bring them back on the show 6 months later, their story gets embellished a little bit more. Then you bring them on a year later. Now it's really not even like the original story. It has just like growing wings.
Well, that's the old saying. If you tell the truth, then you always can refer to the truth because the story never changes. But if you embellish, then you can't remember the last fairy tale you told. So you have to make some of up what you've forgotten and add to more of it. And that's exactly what the UFO community is doing in this field today.
Yeah. Again, I want the truth. That's all I want. I want to really know what's going on. And again, people have to realize for everything you hear, you're going to hear so much disinformation. The government loves it because the ufologists are doing a good job of spreading disinformation.
Well, yeah, because we have become the outlet for the disinformation program. In the 50s and 60s, it was our intelligence communities and our military intelligence communities, the men in black and agents that went about and harassed and threatened people who saw UFOs, photographed them, or even had contact with them face to face. And so what better way than to allow the UFO community to pick up the mantle and make this thing seem so ludicrous that that the officials no longer have to promote a misinformation program. It's done from the inside out now.
Yeah, well, it's self-sustained. How's that?
Yeah, oh, it is, absolutely.
I don't know. And, again, I've talked to some of these people and I'll bring up Roswell. That doesn't count. That happened 70-some years ago. That's no disclosure. That's nothing. That doesn't count. But you know what? That's about the only thing we really have, is proof, isn't it?
Well, no, we have a lot other proof than that people aren't aware of. White Sands, New Mexico, they recovered a intact craft and then took it apart in the sand and then shipped it to Wright Pat. There are other areas in which you had soft landings of these particular craft, Aztec, Cortez, in Mexico, all over the world has been some occurrences. And the next question was somebody said, well, if they're so advanced, why did the craft crash? Well, I'll tell you what. Nothing that you build mechanically is 100% for all of eternity. It's a mechanical device. Mechanical devices eventually break. And through the stresses, because we're so ignorant of what it takes to travel through space, through all the stresses and exposures of deep space travel, of course, there can be malfunctions in these craft. And so they're, occasionally one of them crashes or soft lands or what have you. I mean, come on. I mean, think about that. How many airplanes and trains and mass transports that we have end up wrecking and costing human lives. So why would that be any different? I mean, the mathematical ratios are the same no matter where you go.
It is. Now, all the years you flying, have you ever spotted a UFO out of the cockpit window?
Absolutely. Several times. Me and the crew. Once over northern Canada, past Goose Bay, which is up there about halfway up the Canadian peninsula up there, that if you continue across the North Atlantic at night, you'll go through the middle of Greenland. And so once we saw a very bright UFO maneuvering out there, with the moon behind it in the distance. Another time over the Amazon jungle, because when you fly along the eastern ridge of the Andes, where the Amazon jungle meets, on the routes that go down to South America, to Buenos Aires and Santiago and places like that, then there are areas that are totally vacant. There's not a light for hundreds of miles. There's no radar coverage. I had managed to see one come out of the border between the jungle and the mountains, come up and hover above the jungle, and then slowly accelerate and shoot into space. I've seen several over the Hawaiian Islands at nighttime. So I've had the opportunity to see them, yes. And I know a good number of pilots, both civilian and military, who have had similar sightings. And so it's not like it's commonplace, but it's not like it's totally unusual either.
How are the airlines now? I know back 20 years ago, even 10 years ago, if you reported a UFO, that's pretty much the end of your, isn't it, for your being a pilot?
Yeah, like I put in my new book, there was one United pilot who reported one to NORAD, and this was, I believe, in the late 70s, and he was immediately suspended from flying without pay for almost a year, and went through extensive interrogations, both psychologically and medically, because of that. There is a certain suppression factor that's involved that people don't often want to suffer the consequences of it. So, for instance, there was the incident over Chicago not too long ago where 5 different airlines, 5 different crews saw these particular craft, in which only 2 of them were willing to report it on the air traffic control frequency. So it shows you that there is a negative stigma behind it. We have purposely put on it. And so people do not want to risk their careers and their reputations and their friends and all of this other stuff that is involved. This is the same suppression that the astronauts felt as well. So internally there's talk, but it doesn't go out extensively unless somebody is past the retirement age.
You're right.
Fortunately, I am.
Well, hey, Glen, our time is up. We're going to have to get you back on again here in about a month. How can they find your book and anything you want to share real quick?
Yeah, the book can be found either on eBay, type in my last name, Stecking, and or the title, The UFO Reality, Can Truth Prevail? It's also available through our website, www.adamskifoundation.com. There's 3 links there underneath the book cover, 2 of them that go directly to the publisher, which is soft cover and hardcover, and one that goes directly to eBay, which is only the soft cover. So they will find a plethora of information, real documentation. I don't make claims. I don't base my suppositions on opinion or theory. I either have the facts to support it or I don't talk about it. And that's what I put in this book. Years of documentations, of photographs, and solid evidence. And that's what I want people to have so they can make an educated thought and choice.
Well, Glen, that's why I like bringing you back on the show because, you know, you're one of the very few. It shoots straight.
That's right. That's what I try to do, whether they like it or not.
Okay, Glen, you have a great weekend. Again, I want to thank you for coming on.
Appreciate it, Gary. See you next time. Take care.
Okay, my friend, you take care.
Mm-hmm. Bye-bye.
Well, we're going to take a break here in a second. We're going to have a guest on next. We're going to talk about true crime, people going missing, cold cases, and all that. Well, I hope you are enjoying the show tonight. Glen Strickland is a great guest. Oh, God, our first guest. I tell you what, her and her sister, Barbra Streisand, I tell you what, they just are just awesome. We're going to be right back, so stay tuned. We got more to the show, so hang in.
Wasn't it our first movie night?
everybody, make sure you listen to We Fleece 'Em You's #1 hit station for getting hit. Ow, KFYOU.
Good morning.
Oh, thanks a lot. That's enough. Thank you. Oh, no, not again. Turn the air on. We got lots of great music and lots of great prizes.
Hey, the prize man.
Hey, we ain't giving nothing away. Okay, that's why we're KFYOU. Now a word from our sponsor.
Deliciously different marijuana. Deliciously different marijuana.
KFYOU, We Fleece 'Em's #1 station, where we're always going #2.
NYC.
We got all the hits.
K-E-Y.
The public domain allows us to play.
M-O-U.
So, tune into We Fleece 'Em You's KFYOU before the FCC wises up and takes us off the oh crap. Broadcasting to you live in his underwear. Sorry. From the studios of Night Dreams Talk Radio, you're listening to Gary Anderson. He's the bomb.
The size of nuclear bombs today has evolved from the 1960s so that they are smaller but more accurate.
Hey, are we talking about weapons or Gary?
Even if the total megatonnage was actually less, the explosive force would be spread out more efficiently across the metropolitan area. So in that case, the actual destruction would be even greater than what I'm about to describe now.
Yeah, we're talking about Gary. On the radio, on the internet, and in worldwide syndication. Get ready for the ride of your life.
The destruction that I'm about to describe is likely an underestimation of what would actually happen. It still gives an adequate sort of approximation of the effects. So here we go.
Here's Gary.
And here I am, and I just came out from doing #2, JC.
So, would you use crayons, or was there one ply involved?
There was none.
Okay, gotcha.
I won't even go in there. There's a toilet paper shortage in this house.
Oh, no. Beware of the anacondas.
Yeah, we used it to wrap our neighbor's house with it as a warming gift.
Yeah, you need to go next door and get it off the house.
Yeah, well, we have Joe on. I met Joe on Facebook. Joe, are you there?
We are here, Gary.
Okay, if you're there, I'm there. Where's JC?
Allegedly, he's over here.
Yeah. You know, I got to ask you a question. How did you get involved? And tell the listeners what you do about these missing people, cold cases, and crime, true crime. How did you get involved in this?
Well, years ago, I started a kind of a Facebook project with my daughter where we started looking at strange people, places, things, and events around the Midwest. Reason I did that was because I realized that I will probably never have the financial means to travel the country and look at things like studying Bigfoot in the Pacific Midwest. So we started doing things like that, and as I came across items, I was planning on maybe producing a sort of travel log for people throughout, like, the state of Minnesota. Then, of course, with my ADD, I had to plan ahead of that for what I do for something as a follow-up, and I chose missing persons. I've got some law enforcement background. I've had experience going through case files. So I started to pick out some missing persons cases around Minnesota in the area. The first one I found is actually from the county I currently live in. And I through a person I met through that, I found a woman named Lorelei Voigt, who asked me if I could look into her the case of her missing grandmother, Milda McQuillan, from 1975 in Becker County. And from there, another family from Becker County asked me if I could look into the missing persons case with one of their loved ones, Russell and McKay from Wolf Lake up in Becker County, and that was from 1976. I started to get immersed in that stuff, and I did a few interviews about those cases. They're both very intriguing on their own. I got the itch to try to produce something of my own. When I was the current show, what we have, the podcast, it's called Shadows of the Midwest. I'm kind of a rookie podcaster. I decided to take a case that I discovered while I was looking through these missing persons cases of a body of a young woman found strangled and nude in a county ditch in Faribault County, Minnesota, and started progressing with that. It's probably a little more than you wanted to hear, but yeah.
That's interesting. How many people vanish? You know, again, if you go onto the FBI website and try to look at numbers, they do find a lot of people that go missing, but gee whiz, I mean, there's a lot of people just vanishing. You know, back 30 years ago, you know, you could actually disappear and nobody could find you. I'm talking about if I wanted to run away from my first wife. You could actually, you'd never be found if you wanted not to be. But now, because of electronics, computers, and all this stuff, the state-of-art stuff, you can't hide anymore. And what is happening to these people? That's a lot of them.
And their dependency on all this technology, too, is... I found in my time involved with law enforcement, I worked in corrections and dispatch, and I was also a police commissioner and stuff. A lot of those FBI numbers will come from, let's say, little Johnny down the street ran away from home, and he likes to run away from home every couple of months. The family will call the police department, and what they'll do is they'll enter a runaway report as a form of a missing person report. They know that Johnny's probably not endangered, but at least that puts him in the system if somebody else in the region or the country or something comes across him and runs his name. Those get counted in those FBI numbers as well. Then you've got the missing by possible misadventure, or someone decides to go to a remote area and take their own life, or someone's got addiction issues and disappears. Like the one I had worked on in my local county here, McLeod County, the gentleman was going to have his house foreclosed on. He was kind of a recluse. He didn't have electricity in his home. He had a warrant for child support. And one day he just decided to grab his mom's truck, parked it in a park about 20 miles away, hopped on his bicycle, and that's the last anyone has ever seen from him. So, I mean, there was some intention there. Now, the two that I did with up in Becker County here from 75 and 76, Milda McQuillan, she left her residence, her lake home, to go visit some acquaintances on Bad Medicine Lake. And the acquaintances reported that she never arrived there. And when they started searching the area, they actually, this is lake country up there. It's very wooded, lots of cabins and lots of lakes. They actually found her car on an old logging road just down the road from the cabin she was going to. And they tried claiming she had got lost along the way. And then the other case, the Bernard Rusness and Peggy McKay, they were living together, basically common law. They have a son named Brian. This is in Wolf Lake, Minnesota. And one night there was a house fire there. And some passersby saw it about 11 o'clock at night and called the fire department. The second people to see it, the first person that reported it saw a fire in the basement. And back then, there was no 911, no cell phones. You basically had to go into town and ring the fire bell or, push a button. And the fire department was paged, usually via telephone. And when they went and did that, another carload of kids at the time pulled up there. And by that time, the fire had engulfed the roof line of the house. Excuse me. And when the house burnt to the ground, and in essence, they found the body of the boy, the 8-year-old boy, Brian, in the debris, but mom and dad were never found. All the cars were on the property. One of them had the hood up. The outbuildings were unlocked, and there's been a lot of speculation and stuff, but essentially they just disappeared off the face of the earth.
What do you think maybe happened?
That one, I tell you, I've probably driven 1,000 miles, spent nights in hotel rooms, and spent hundreds of hours on the telephone. There's a number of things that were involved with that. With the fire, one of the odd things that came up to me to begin with is I spent years ago, I was on a volunteer firefighter, and the first passerby noticed the fire in the basement window. Mind you, this is an old farmhouse. And then the next couple, the car with the kids in it pulled up, and they basically reported it to be the same time as the woman that reported the fire initially. When they pulled up, the roof line of the house was involved. Now, this is an old farmhouse, and it was more than likely what they call like a balloon construction. So it meant basically there was no fire breaks, and the walls of the house between the interior and exterior were hollow, which would enable that fire in the basement in a very short amount of time to travel up through the walls to the attic, which would explain what the carload of kids saw when they pulled up there. But what this also would mean is that that fire had to be set relatively or shortly before the woman in the car saw it to move so quickly. So that brings a lot of speculation as to when, where, and why, who was out there, and who said it, and who left. So I found, actually, there's so many details to the case. I found a connection, actually, possibly to the Son of Sam stuff that's associated with North Dakota. Both the wife and husband both worked in Fargo. I don't know if you're familiar with Maury Terry and his Ultimate Evil book, which has been kind of a controversy over the last few years with the Netflix special.
Right.
But there's things that Maury Terry had that he documented in North Dakota that directly line with letters and stuff I've received about the case file for this case. And there's other parts of it where, the hard part about these are both intriguing cases when you talk about them. There's a lot of fun stuff or interesting stuff to talk about. But when it gets down to the nitty gritty, my suspicions involve people that are currently living, and I have nothing but circumstantial things that would show their involvement. So I cannot exactly come out and openly accuse or put people up for suspicion in that matter. One of those theories involves a prominent North Dakota businessman who the McKays worked for. But so you get there's things like that you can't really talk openly about. I mean, I'd be happy to talk to you, one-on-one, but you just can't put them out as public information necessarily.
No, because one, you can get sued big time.
Yeah. And I think there's a lot of grounds to it. But unfortunately, this case is, anything in Minnesota, I've gotten to be pretty well-versed on the data practices laws in Minnesota. I mean, anything over 30 years old, whether it's closed or not, basically goes into the public record. Now, we've got the Minnesota FBI, I like to call them, called the Bureau of Criminal Apprehension, who had this case, and for some reason they refuse to acknowledge that it's public information. I've got the entire case file from family members. But unfortunately, with this case being from 1976, when I did spoke with the BCA agent who had the case, or technically had the case, it's basically sitting on a shelf in their office. It's untouched, and they are waiting for something to come up in the future. And that was his reason. Something might come up tomorrow. They're waiting for something to come to them.
Yeah, but it might never come, or it could be years, and then whoever did it's going to be long gone if they're not already long gone now.
Exactly, and I passed on some information to them, but they're that's just conjecture. It's not this. Because I went down a lot of, mind you, I built my research on the shoulders of the investigators that initially did the case. But I was really shocked, and even I've talked with a cold case investigator who's just so happened to be a friend of one of my managers. Kind of crazy. He's retired, and some of the avenues that they didn't pursue, they go and do a few interviews, things like that, but their failure to follow up on things and go down those rabbit holes. And I think that's where those answers are, down those rabbit holes. And that's why I've built a theory about what possibly happened, who possibly did it. But then again, they that's all conjecture, and they aren't willing to spend the time to actually follow up on stuff, at least that I know of, because I could give them all the information. They might be running with it right now, but they'd never tell me about it.
Well, but
so
with the advances, Joe, with DNA and everything like that, I mean, I think right now we have the opportunity to figure out a lot of these cases now that have never been able to be solved. But again, do they take preference on a case that happened in 1974 versus a case that happened in 2004?
Well, like this, in both of those cases, Milda McClellan's case, the car, in essence, might have had DNA in it. There was a lot of suspicious things about that. But at that point, they never even heard that term. I mean, they might have, they first classified it as misadventure. So they didn't really process the car at all. But at best, they could have maybe taken some fingerprints off of it. So, I mean, there would have been no logic, and, there would have been no reason to search for anything DNA-wise. And unfortunately, with that case, I met with the Becker County Sheriff. Todd Glander has been very, very good to me with this. And I went up there and got his files and spoke with his investigators for, probably about 3 hours on both of these cases. And the Milda McClellan file, the majority of the file is gone. And I think it's just disappeared over the years because, you're looking at there was no computers to store things on, so you basically had one thick file folder. That a lot of times when you're up in a county like that, which has got a lot of remote locations and not well populated, especially in the fall and winter type thing, the investigator would carry the file in the trunk of his car, just to have access to it. So over time, there's a lot of paperwork, interviews, and things like that went missing in Milda's case. So, and then again with the Russness family, the Russness and McKay, besides for the partial remains of the 8-year-old Brian, there was really nothing there to, if they haven't filed that, they could actually take any samples off at this time. And I don't know, they might be able to take a DNA sample because Bernard had a lot of kids with a few different people. And they could probably take maybe a sample of his DNA from one of the children and maybe keep it on file to see if any remains should pop up in the future. But as far as solving the case, I think there's a couple people that know. But again, it's they aren't about to admit it to me, and I've got a real problem kind of making that last connection to them.
Well, in your state, how many people go missing in a year? Do you have any idea?
I have no clue. There's what you see on the news and stuff. As a matter of fact, a friend of my wife had her daughter went missing down in Winona this last year, and it turned out to be a case of domestic violence, and there's no trial on that yet. I think you get a lot of stuff like that. You'll get a lot of your Amber Alert things where non-custodial parent runs off with a kid. And the occasional one where, you'll have a 15-year-old girl going out to meet some guy online that she fell in love with. That doesn't really maybe turn out to be anything violent, but just creepy and illegal. So I guess I really couldn't put a number on it. I think most of the things that happen here and in those numbers would be involved with that runaway report type thing. And like I said, most runaways are either return home or are located in one form or another shortly thereafter, and some of them end up becoming emancipated and stuff. So right now, offhand, it would really be hard for me to say. The thing that I pride myself on and what I end up doing is I only go after things that I can actually do myself, have the original work in that case. So everything I've done with the podcast and these missing persons cases aren't something that was grabbed out of a newspaper. And what I've found too is a lot of online articles and a lot of newspaper articles, some of them are so far away from the truth, it's not even funny. And the people get away with this on some of these crime podcasts and stuff where they quote newspaper articles and post conjecture that has no backing to it.
Well, I hate to say it.
The case.
Let's be honest, Joe. I mean, news sells. It's a commodity. So they kind of embellish, some news stories.
Yeah, and it's just a lot of rumor that goes out there, and a lot of it's unsubstantiated. And the thing is, when people, one person says something that's misstated or false, and it's read by 10 other people, and pretty soon it becomes the gospel online. And I feel very comfortable with these two cases of my Milton McClellan and Bernard Russness, that I am probably more versed on those two cases and the one involving Shadows in the Midwest than any other person breathing today. I hate to sound boastful, but I'm pretty confident in that, and the amount of time and research and the papers that I've gone through and the interviews I've conducted.
It sounds like you put a lot of hours in it. How is the podcast doing?
Not too bad. I mean, it can always be better. It's hard. It's a difficult process, especially, when you're trying to, I've done a few interview shows, with people, and I have a few more planned that are just basically interviewing somebody. But the production and the writing and stuff is a lot more time consuming than I anticipated. So it's kind of like, okay, honey, it's like 11 o'clock at night. I got to go upstairs and record something before we go to bed, And when, I'm like everybody else, I work 40 plus hours a week, and I have family obligations and time that I want to spend with my wife and dogs that won't leave me alone some days. And trying to find that time to put that together and do the production. I just came out with the 7th episode this morning after midnight before I went to bed. So episode 7 is up there. Unfortunately, I can't get them out in a very consistent manner. Now there's interviews for episode 8 that I want to try to conduct. And it's a matter of, touching base with somebody, whether or not they want to talk. And then working out a format for that. So you've done interviews for years, and you kind of know what that's like, I'm sure.
I have 50 some years doing it, I tell you. And, people don't realize because, again, we're really doing good on the apps. We're on some radio stations. We're on a radio station in the Philippines and one in, believe it or not, in UK. But here's the thing, YouTube for us sucks. I mean, it's taken forever because we're not talking about Bigfoot or UFOs or something that draws those type of people in because we have different type of topics each night. But, I understand what you go through. People don't realize, like, even my own wife sometimes, she goes, God, you spend 12, 13 hours a day preparing for your show, making sure everything works right, working with my producer, making sure we have the right quality guest. And sometimes we even have bad guests. But, it's a lot of work involved.
Well, Gary, you're getting rich off of it, though.
I am? I am?
I had one gentleman I was going to interview that involved with the Shadows of the Midwest, that the case is being featured on there. And I usually have really, really good luck talking to people. I tell them flat out who I am. I mean, I'm a public servant. I work for a public transit supervisor. So I tell them who I am. I'm not a cop. I'm not a private investigator. And I usually have some very revealing conversations with people. This guy, however, was he emailed me back and goes, yeah, you're just out to make money off this stuff. And it's like, dude, I'll tell you what, there's money, but it's been a one-way street and it's outbound.
Well, join the crowd. Joe, people
I've done everything on my own dime. Yeah.
Yeah, they don't realize, like on here, on my show, I have really expensive equipment. We're talking a lot of dollars, and plus the cost of maintaining it, plus the cost of, for playing music, license fees, graphic fees.
And the cost of the hitman too.
Yeah, I just give him pistachios and a bag of them once a month, and he works for peanuts. Right, JC?
Yeah, that's on a good day. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, and then, if his camera, or not camera, but I love cameras. So I'm sorry, that's on my mind. I want to buy a new camera, and I got to convince my wife tomorrow I want it. But anyway, that was on my mind. I apologize. But, it's just like if his piece of equipment dies, we have to replace it. If one of my computers out of the 9 of them I use for the show, one of them dies, it's always something, and it's expenses. And people, they listen to the show and they think, oh, you're on radio stations. You're making money. Radio stations, for people out there who don't realize, they don't pay anything.
Yeah. I went to broadcasting school when I was about 19 years old. I found out that radio stations don't pay much.
No, but I mean, to carry our show, they don't pay us to carry our show. I mean, that's just a luxury to get the word out. And then we have a little bit of advertisers. We make our money, one way or the other. But that people don't realize it's hard doing this. So I understand what you're doing. I mean, you got a full-time job. You this is your passion. But people don't realize. I mean, it costs money even for you to do your podcast, to get it out there.
Yeah, and I've done all this stuff with these families. Motel rooms, and where it took place is about 3 hours away from where I live. So I put on tons of miles, internet time. But maybe there's a selfish factor in it too. It keeps my head active when I have these things to think of and problem solve. And over time, I found out I've been pretty good at it, picking apart files and doing follow-ups and doing the research. I mean, I don't mean to sound boastful, but I'm not very good at anything else. But I found that that's my niche that I have. And it, like I said, it helps keep my head occupied. So a lot of it I'm doing is out of my own selfishness.
Again, yeah, because our time is almost up, Joe. How can they find, and where can they find your podcast? Go ahead and give it a name. And if you have a website or your Facebook group or anything you want to share, now's the time to do it.
All right. Well, it's Shadows of the Midwest is the name of the podcast. You can find it on basically all of your common platforms. I believe I'm on Spreaker. I'm iHeart, Audible, Amazon, Pandora, Spotify, all those places. And you can also, if all else fails, you can find it at www.shadowsofthemidwest.com. I also have a Facebook page with that name, which I hope to start posting. It's kind of tough. I'm trying to post some documents and stuff on there. And then there is a YouTube channel, which has the podcasts on there. at again, Shadows of the Midwest Shadows of the Midwest on YouTube. If you would, I'd encourage anybody just to give it a listen, give it a shot. Please feel free to like it, subscribe, review it, because those things are when you look at those numbers to see the amount of people listening to you and giving you a chance, it's really encouraging. And some days it gets very tough, and those kind of things really help keep a person going. So if they'd be willing to go over there, give it a shot. And if nothing else, if you don't like my voice, turn the sound down and let it play.
Okay.
It's still a number.
Well, I think people like your voice, Joe. And again, I'm glad I met you off of Facebook.
Well, I appreciate the opportunity, Gary, and you and JC do some great stuff. And I really like to see where your show is going now, too. And I'm really impressed with some of the new bumper music. You'll have to find a place to put credits and stuff on that, because I've had questions about a few of them where who it was. So,
okay, my friend. Well, I want to thank you for coming on, and I know it's real late where you're at in the morning. So again, I want to thank you, and I want you to have a good weekend. Will you?
You as well, brother. You too. You and JC be blessed, and good luck with your the future.
Okay, and I'm sure we'll be chatting off and on, like always, on Facebook.
Sounds good, sir.
Okay, my friend, you take care.
Take care.
Well, JC, who do we have for the next 2 weeks for guest?
Oh, who do we? Well, we've got Courtney Brown coming on next Wednesday. He's going to be talking about the theory of, is Earth a slave planet?
It could be.
Yes.
Could you imagine but again, what are we slaves from and where? We're going to find that out next Wednesday, aren't we?
We are. Time will tell. Then we're going to have a man who's still active in the military. He can't really give his name, but he has collected almost 1,000 reports of people in the military and the paranormal who have experienced the paranormal while being in the military, Gary.
Well, I'm sure if people walking down the street have paranormal experiences, in the military, that would be kind of interesting too.
Oh, it's going to be a good one. And then next Friday, Gary, we have Michael Leonard coming on, from the Waltons, the mother.
That's going to be really nice. Who remembers the Waltons? I still watch it, along with the Little House on the Prairie, but don't tell anybody, please. I don't want to wreck my image that I like those shows yet.
Exactly. Then next week, we've got Ryan Wood coming on talking about some UFO and what's going on with UFOs, some of the nuts and bolts in it.
And his father is who? Dr.
Bob Wood.
Bob Wood.
Yeah. Then we got Anson Williams and his wife Sharon coming on. He used to be from the Happy Days. Remember the old show Happy Days?
Oh, it's only old if you are, young. Again, how many people out there still kind of creep on and watch Happy Days? Come on. Hey, Patsy. Hey, Fonz. Cool. Okay, go ahead.
Well, that's the last couple of weeks. I kind of wonder whatever happened to Richie's older brother on Happy Days.
Yeah. I don't know. And Loretta Swift, when do we have her on? She got sick with COVID, and we had to, it took forever to get her booked back on. When is she going to be on?
She's due on April 12th. She will be on the show.
We're going to have Hot Lips on. Mm-hmm. Think about that. I want to know what happened in that tent.
Never kiss and tell, Gary.
Well, I don't know.
Maybe.
Again, if anybody out there has a encounter or something, a Bigfoot, a dogman, been abducted by a UFO, not your next door neighbor's wife, but if you want to be a guest on the show, how do they get a hold of the producer, Mr. JC?
Producer, nightdreamstalkradio@gmail.com. Producer, nightdreamstalkradio@gmail.com.
And again, if you have a recommendation of a guest, the same Gmail, you can go to our website and fast blast me if there's somebody you like us to try and get on. We're always trying to get people on. We bribe them with Tootsie Pops and licorice and pistachios.
Pistachio.
You know, he's been eating pistachios for the last 2.5 hours.
Allegedly.
Allegedly, I've been watching you. We got he's on camera. You guys can't see it. He's eating pistachios all night. And while I can't do anything.
I do not recall, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if anybody wants to call in and talk for a second, we can take a call in. The number is 253-203-6777. That's 1-253-203-6777. And if you don't want to call, I can understand. Nobody wants to talk to me. They don't. God, my wife don't even talk to me.
Well, that's understandable.
Well, yeah, she talked to me tonight. She goes, I need the $160 for gas money. So I gave it to her, and she said, thank you. So she talked to me for the day.
Oh, she didn't talk to you in French?
No. She uses sign language.
The
one finger.
You know what that one is?
Yeah, it ain't the thumbs, I can tell you that.
Oh, so she was showing you...
Yeah, she was showing me the finger when she was a child. She lived next to a dam that had a leak. So for extra money, the dam manager would pay her 50 cents a day to put her finger in that hole.
Maybe she was just letting you know she's number one.
Or number two.
Yeah. Now, I've had people do that to me. I don't know why they would flip me off, but I have had that happen. And
that's only because they found out you're the producer of the show.
I tell them, look, put 2 fingers up there and you'll double your IQ. Come on, you can do it.
Yeah. I'm going to get somebody to paint a mural of me.
Oh, my.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be quite the feat.
Well, I don't know. I'm not going to have my feet painted.
Oh.
You said feet.
Yeah, the feet. Lafitte.
Lafette.
Pepe Lafitte's going to paint your feet.
Yeah, see, nobody calls. They're all cowards. They'll listen, right? But they don't call in.
Yeah, well, I'm sure they're saying a few things. You just can't hear them because they're not on the phone.
Oh, I know. But, I got that coming into my brain. I was remote viewing some of the listeners here tonight.
Oh, yeah. Definitely.
One of them named Kim. I remote viewed her, and she goes, "You know what I like about Gary's Night Dreamers Talk Radio is because I can fall asleep really fast. No other thing makes me fall asleep. I have problems sleeping at night, but I listen to the show, and within 5 minutes, I always crash and I'm sound asleep. I don't have to take any medication anymore. I just tune into the show. I go out."
I fell asleep the other night. It was a show about some kind of abduction. I woke up. I didn't know if I was...
I thought you fell asleep with the guest we had last night. What I need to do, okay, is, we need to get a button here and a long wire to Ohio. So when you start falling asleep, I push the button and it wakes you up.
Yeah, the little buzzer. The buzzer on the chair.
Yeah, there's a big time difference between, I'm on the West Coast, he's on the East Coast. And if he keeps eating all these food during the show, he's going to be big as the West Coast and East Coast combined. We actually got a caller, and let's see who it is. Surprise me.
Hey, I was just wondering.
I knew it. Wait a minute. JC, I'll pay you the $1 tomorrow on that bet, okay?
You got it.
Okay, go ahead, Tom.
I was just wondering what kind of engine did you have in that Daytona that you built?
Oh, it was a 440 with a blower attached to it.
Yeah. Okay.
And it had headers. And it had those little bars on the rear end with wheels on it. So when I popped a wheelie, that's why, you know what? My current wife of going on 48 years, when we first started dating, she loved it. We used to go a place called up by SeaTac Airport, and all the guys back then would cruise up and down with their muscle cars. And I would sit there and let these guys in their fancy cars get 3 or 4 car lengths ahead of me, and then I'd stomp it. I pop a little bit of a wheelie, and then I'd just wave goodbye to him. And my wife loved it. In fact, almost every date we had for the 4 months we dated before we got hitched, that means married, she loved it. I mean, she just wanted to go up there and go cruising. So we get married 2 weeks later after we're married. Honey, I think you should sell your car. We can't afford the gas for it.
They just had one.
That's what you get for getting married.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I really love, but the bad part is I sold it to one of my close friends, and a week later, his wife called me up and said, "Hey, I hate you," and she was crying. I go, "What?" Her husband wrapped it around a telephone pole because it was too much power, and he gunned it and lost control and killed himself on it.
Yeah, well, that's not your fault.
No, but I felt guilty. I mean, that car had almost 800 horsepower.
Well, didn't you have more than one hot rod? I mean, I know you had the Daytona, but I know you had other ones too.
I had some Corvettes, and I used to know a guy who raced Corvettes professionally. He owned a chain of auto parts stores, and we got really tight. And he goes, "Hey, leave the car with me for a couple weeks." This is when I was a millionaire back years ago. And he goes, "Leave it with me a couple weeks and you'll have a fast car." Now, he used to race Corvettes. So but he said the deal is you can't come in and check on the car. You can go into one of the stores, buy whatever you want. You can't see what we're doing to the car. I go in when he calls me, "Hey, the car's ready." And I'm looking at it. Okay, here's the engine with a blower on it. My beautiful hood was cut open, and, for the air vent coming on it, the hood scoop, it had headers on it, and he was saying that was so hard to put on a fiberglass body, and it would hit 180 miles an hour just like that.
And you didn't go to jail driving that?
Oh, well, I think I told it before. They opened up in a place called Kent. They opened a sub-freeway to the main I-5. That's the main freeway. It goes from, Canada all the way up to California. And I was testing it out. So I was probably doing 160, and I noticed the blue lights behind me. So I was a nice guy. I pulled over because it took a while, for the cop to get there. And then the cop is just foaming at his mouth. And I figured, I'm going to go to jail. 160 miles an hour is reckless driving. You were a cop, isn't it? How many cops would put somebody in jail for that?
Most of them.
Well, this guy happened to be a big fan of Corvettes. So he radioed for lunch, whatever break. And he goes, "I'll tell you what. I won't give you a ticket. I won't handcuff you. Can I please just drive the car? And you can sit on the passenger side. Just please, I want to drive it." The guy freaked me out. I mean, he went faster than I was going. And then we made the loop and came back, and he goes, "God, I love your car. Have a good day." Or a good night, whatever it was. That's a true story.
Well, the thing of it is, there have been situations that I'm not going to get into that, someone was doing something similar to that, but they were right out front about it, and they started to tell me, because I was interested in hot rods and engines and things like that, and they told me everything that they had in it, and I was very impressed. And then I'd have them lift up the hood and take a look inside and check out the headers and check out the carbs, et cetera, et cetera. But for someone to do that kind of job on something, and they did it well, I appreciated sway bars front and rear and stabilizers and things like that. So, I think that I would have, had I stopped you and you would have explained to me what was in that, I probably would have been interested and probably would have had you lift up the hood so I could have taken a look inside.
Well, a lot of people don't know, but the motor was magnafluxed, and they sent out in that motor. I'm telling you, put it this way: what he hit me up with the bill was more than when I bought the car new.
Oh, I'm sure of that. Yeah.
I mean, go buy a Corvette.
Yeah, tricking out, a lot of people don't know that tricking out cars like that is an expensive proposition.
Well, it is. Going back to the Daytona, I bought that from a psychiatrist that he had the same thing what my wife did. Get rid of the car or, what else. And he called, he was in the Seattle Times classified car. And it was like, he wanted like 19,000 for it, which was a lot. But my friend, Pat Clark, we wanted to just look at it because we didn't have the money to buy it. So we go over to his place and, the guy goes, look, my wife's going to divorce me if I don't get rid of the car today. How much money do you have? And I don't remember how much it was. I think it was like a couple $1,000s. He sold me the car. A week later, he called me up, begging and offering me, a huge amount of money to get the car back. Crazy. A psychiatrist would do that. Crazy.
Well, I'm fascinated by that. You don't see a lot of that today. You see some of it, but people don't build cars like that. They usually buy them already made. They've got the Camaros, et cetera, et cetera. But you don't see people putting a lot of work unless you go to a specific car show for that. And that was one of the things. I mean, me and my friends didn't have money, but we found ways of making things go fast. I built a hot rod out of a Volkswagen, got 3 tickets in a year, and had to sell it, or I was going to get my license suspended.
Yeah, did you have to go to one of the that Daytona caused me to have to go to in Seattle one of these classes on driving. If I didn't go, they were going to suspend my license. Did you ever have to go through one of those?
I never had to go through that, but I heard of, I knew people that did, so I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. Well, don't buy a car that goes fast, I tell you that.
I think a Miata is about as fast as I want to go. I haven't done that yet.
Buy an electric car.
No, I am not a fan of electric technology, and I think you understand why when you look at the fact that, number one, all of the resources that go into making those, people think that, they're saving the planet. Actually, they're not, because when those batteries go out and the average life expectancy is 3 to 5 years, those things go into a landfill, and they're very, very toxic, and all of that stuff drains into the ground and gets into the water tables, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So people that think that they're doing the planet a big favor, they should guess again and do their homework, because that's not the case.
Well, my oldest daughter, bought one of those electric cars, right? And they were bragging to us, look how much money we were saving on gas. And I tried to explain it to both of them before they bought it. Yeah, you're going to save money for about 3 years. And on the 4th year, you're going to have a disposable car. Because what's going to cost when those batteries fail is going to cost as much as replacing the whole car. Tom, I got to let you go. Thank you for calling in. And remember, buy a year newer than you're thinking of, okay? You take care.
All right. Have a good night.
Uh-huh. Well, JC, what's the fastest car you ever had?
I don't know, Gary. I've had a few. I had that 69 Charger. It had a 440 in it also. I had the 70 Chevelle, had a 350. Had a 302 and a 70 Nova. I had a Cordova that was really fast. I got it up to 140, but probably that Dodge Charger was pretty fast.
You know what I'm driving now? I'm driving a 2008 Scion. And you might think about it, because that was made for young people back when they came out, 2008 up to when they quit making them. But I'll tell you what, it's faster than anything else that my wife has had or currently has. And people have been amazed from a dead stop to I can get up to 70, like wham. And when I get stopped by the police, they go, how's this car doing? I said, well, This is why I never got rid of it. It's fast, and it has 200 and almost 67,000 miles on it.
Wow. That's amazing. I will say this: the Nova got 6 miles a gallon that I had. It had a 950 Holly on it. You know what? I also had a 77 Chevy van that was really fast. I put a racing cam in it. It had a 350 in it, but it was fast. It was fast, and had some fast vehicles.
Yeah, I have too. But you know what? I really just like, well, what I drive now. I just think of all the money foolishly through the years I have spent on Corvettes. And you know, the biggest stupid mistake I had is when I bought the limo back in late 80s. I bought a Lincoln limo, and I had a person drive me around on it. Okay, back in my rich days. Okay, and I tell you what, that thing was like, all of a sudden we're on the freeway and smoke was coming out of the engine compartment. The wires burned up, or something would happen because, you know, when they made the car, they put all this fancy wiring in it, and, you know, all this electronic stuff back even then. And it wasn't just like a drain. It was like, go buy a boat.
Yeah, these things. Well, first of all, you couldn't even afford to drive the cars I had today. I mean, especially I mean, think about it: $3, $4, $5 a gallon of gas. I mean,
no, but look at it. Okay, when I started driving, 19 cents, 21 cents, 22, 24, 29 cents a gallon, 27 cents a gallon. But here's the thing: my very first job in a car wash, $1.50 an hour.
Yeah. Right.
I was a teenager. $1.50 an hour. Now, if somebody wants to call in and say the car only turns right or left, go ahead. I don't care. Or if your car don't even run at all, look how much money you save on insurance and gas.
Tell you something else. One time, me and my buddy was in his dad's car, and the tranny went out of it. All it had was reverse, and we drove 6 miles in reverse to his house.
Well, you know, I still remember on that Dodge Daytona, I saw me and my friend, we pulled over, and there were some hot girls. This is back then, okay? Just before I married my wife. And we figured, well, just show off. So you drop it in a neutral, you rev it up, and with the blower going, you know, and all that noise it make, and then you drop it in the gear and do all that silly stuff, and you have your release your foot off the brake, and then you hear this big bang, boom, bang, slap, boom, and your drive line is now across the street.
Yep. There she goes. There she goes.
Yeah.
There she went. Listen, we used to fool people you can't judge a vehicle by its cover either. You never know what can be in some of these things.
You never know. Some of the cars that look like the biggest beaters, they have really put a lot of money into it. Well, you know, one thing I'm thinking about abductions. I'm just wondering if we have any listeners out there that ever were abducted. No, not by your husband or boyfriend, but I'm talking about E.T. Aliens. The little green men. Or are they green? Are they silver? I don't know.
Look at all colors. They're all colors of the rainbow.
They could be.
Yeah, I think so. Probably are.
Yeah. Have you been watching Resident Alien at all?
I've seen all of them in this. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I've seen all. Yeah, I've seen all of them.
There was only 3 seasons made.
Yeah.
They should have went on to at least. I don't understand. See, they have a good show, and then it gets canceled.
There was a bunch of good shows. You know what happened? That daggone pandemic crap happened, and then the writer's strike. There was a lot of good shows that had one season. And they never picked up second season options.
But how some of these other crappy shows, detective shows, it can go on like N and whatever it is for 20 years. And, you know, it's the same thing over and over. At least, you know, something that, you know, is kind of scary and spoofy and funny. It gets canceled.
Yeah, the little kid in there was funny. Having his little friend. They used to chase each other around, him and the alien there. That was funny.
Yeah. How about his baby?
That was bizarre. The baby. That baby reminded me of that movie It. You ever see that movie? I think it was It.
It?
Yeah.
Yeah. Everybody knows It.
The girl had the baby. I think it was Sharon Farrell. It was an old movie. Had that baby It. It was like a monster. That's what that reminded me of.
Yeah. How many out there been married more than 4 times? I'll tell you that. That's like being married to a monster.
Wait a minute. 4?
Well, look, I married Julie. That was 1. I married Debbie, got divorced. Then we got remarried, and I decided to get it annulled. And then I met Linda. Ooh, I better shut up there.
Oh, so 1 was a twofer.
Well, yeah.
What?
We got married. Okay, and then we went down to the ocean, and we walked the beach, and then she took a shower, and then we laid in bed, and I go, I think we made a mistake. And she goes, what? I just realized, why I divorced you. And she goes, what's that mean? I go, well, we got to go see my attorney tomorrow and get this annulled. So there's no sex involved tonight.
You're a slow learner when it comes to some things, aren't you?
Very slow.
Jesus. Oh, man.
Back to, with our guest tonight, I tell you, Roslyn, she was really great. And she said she was shy to get up in front of people. The same way in broadcasting, behind a microphone, I was fine. When I was working for this one radio station, they had me go out on locations and, do stuff in front of people behind a microphone. They even made me sing one time. And I tell you, I don't know. It's just like I got that job one time in Alaska doing weather on a TV station. And, I just felt so uncomfortable, I felt like naked and afraid doing the show.
Well, some of these shows now, the anchors, they do get a little bit light in the clothes.
How about the naked news? Have you watched that yet?
I'm talking about, yeah.
I figured that. See, guys, JC watches the naked news. Now, are you going to rely on him for booking guests after he just submitted that?
You're the one that told me about it.
But you already said you watched it. So if I told you about it and you already watched it, how could you have already watched it if I just told you?
Well, you told me you're going to quiz me about it later, so I better watch
I never said I was going to quiz you about that. You're lying. You've been eating too much pistachios. Oh, wait a minute.
That's my line.
Oh, okay. Well, somebody's calling you?
Yeah.
Well, whoever's calling is calling on the wrong line. They're calling on the wrong line. And when I was talking to Tom, my phone was, the Skype was going crazy with people trying to call. The number is 253-203-6777. Okay, not the other number anymore. It's 253-203-6777. Not to be confused with 666. Maybe that was a bill collector. Now I can't even hear you.
He's calling. I told him to call the other line because
I thought maybe you were getting a phone call from a bill collector on the air.
Yeah. 1 in the morning.
I had that happen one time. Not for me. They were looking for somebody else. I had fun with them doing that. I really did. I did this thing. You know what I did when I had that bill collector call? I didn't have him call. When they called, I said, well, how did you know Mr. Johnson? Well, I'm calling. I said, well, how did you know Mr. Johnson? Well, I'm investigating his death. He's laying right here on the floor naked. Were you his lover? I had that tele guy, whatever, sweating bullets over the phone. I never once said I was in law enforcement. I just said I was investigating a death, and he was laying on the floor. And how did you? And then I got into it. Well, did you guys have a romantic time together or something? This guy was freaking out. Anyway, who do we have on the call?
Oh, we have Art from Orange County, California.
Hi, Art. How are you doing?
Okay. I just want to respond to that. Gary's the what you guys were talking about. the abductions and stuff like that. I can see that I've had experience where I'm with people and somebody passes out when the object appeared. So I have myself have been put out when I saw this object, and I ended up down the street in my vehicle. I don't think that's an abduction, but I feel that there's some kind of ability they have to put certain people out. I had witnessed an orb, and just a young boy and myself saw it, and the parents were standing there, and they just were blacked out. So I just wanted to add that to maybe not an abduction, but maybe, some sort of, I don't know, mind control, something,
Well, have you ever been in a situation? This happened once to me. I was totally coherent. I was driving home from the radio station I worked at, and I found myself 30 miles past where I lived. And then it dawned on me, like, all of a sudden, like, why am I 30 miles away from where I live?
Well, for me, I saw this object in the sky coming towards me, and I looked at it, and it stopped. I'm standing behind my truck. Next thing I know, I'm at the intersection, three blocks down the street, and woke up right there. And that was one incident. Another, again, I was with this family with this young boy was there with me, and he says, "Oh, Mom, look there's a UFO," and it was about 9 feet away, 10 feet up, a big white orb, and it then started moving down this alley in this apartment. And I looked at the mom and the dad and the daughter, and they were just like standing there, just faceless, just not making any moves until it disappeared. Then they woke up. I was driving in my truck over a hill, and my buddy was with me, and this one object popped out, and he passed out. I'm screaming at him to look, and he just all out. And then when it disappeared, he woke up, and those are the kind of experiences that I've had. Just to explain, I don't know what it could be. I was actually where I live, where I didn't even know that I was out, and I was recording, and I didn't know I was even recording. And then when I woke up and I played back my phone, I can hear myself talking to somebody, and it's just really odd that I didn't have any inclination that I had done that.
Well,
just wanted to add that in for today. I just wanted that in because of this guy saying abductions. Now, I don't think I believe in the abductions, but I think that there's something out there that can just put you out for whoever it wants to, and that seems to be an experience that I had.
Well, Art, I will say this real quick. I do think people are being abducted. I just don't think it's the numbers that, the people. There's a lot of people claiming they're being abducted, but I think some of them never were. I think either they want their minute of fame, or they need medication, or they're taking medication that they shouldn't be taking. But there is I think, a certain small percentage of people that are being abducted. I just don't buy that literally tens of thousands of people are being abducted every year and having the same DNA removed and that. I just don't buy that one.
No, I agree with that. I was kind of feeling a little, intimidated by the way he was talking, but I listened. That I can understand where he was coming from, because some of us see things, some of us don't, some can't see, some don't even listen. For the 50 years that I had experience, I've noticed there's people who just can't comprehend or don't want to hear it, and there's others that I've met, especially on Facebook. I met a lot of people, and we shared our stories, and they seem to be similar. I got too many to say to you, so that's why I was kind of just overwhelmed with what I know, but I wanted to share what was considered a abduction issue. That was something that I wanted to add in tonight, was just the experience that I had. So my belief is, if they don't want you next to me to know, they're just going to blank you out and allow whoever they were going to. And I've had that experience, so I just want to share that with you, that these incidences were just kind of like, you have no idea. You just wake up and you're down the street? How did I get in my vehicle? How did I get to that intersection? Things like that. And how do these people stand up and be blanked out? As I'm looking in their face, they're just out. But the young boy, he and I were just looking at this object, and after it, and another thing too, when the object was moving away, I couldn't figure why I turned around and walked away. And I've had paranormal things like that where I've seen a shadow person, and then as I walk by it, I can't turn around to look back at it. I just continue to go. That just kind of makes me wondering if there's some sort of, something they have to, there's no thought. It's just like, I just don't respond. I just kept on going.
So I think sometimes, Art, sometimes I think what happens when people see something like that, they go in kind of their brain goes into protective mode. So that's why maybe you don't look back or whatever, because your brain.
I felt through the incidents. I'll throw this one in. It was a young lady. She was a dark shadow right there when I was coming out of my apartment to take off, and I almost ran into her. So I moved around, and as I went towards the door, she started giggling and laughing, and I wanted to turn around and say, "Hey, I'm sorry," but I've never been scared of any of these incidents. And I've had one where I was walking out a gate and a girl's voice came out, and my buddy and I were standing there walking out the gate of the backyard, and he goes, "Did you just hear that?" And so we just, these kind of things that they're not scary to me. They're not in that manner, but I noticed that we don't go to investigate. We just leave. It's like, why wouldn't I go back? Why wouldn't I stand there and watch it? Why wouldn't I go back to respond to it? It's just something feeling that,
well, maybe
I continue to.
Maybe it doesn't want you to look back.
If that's the thing, I can't tell you that. I'm just letting you know it. That's what I felt. It was something that I just didn't have the urge to. I wanted to turn around. I wanted to do it. I wanted to say, like in a jokey way, "Oh, I'm sorry," but it was something that just kept me going forward. And then I always get mad at myself and say, "Why didn't I do that?" And,
I wouldn't want to look. Now, wait a minute. JC, if you were in that situation, would you want to back up and look at it? Or would you just kind of like your brain? I know my brain. If I saw something like that, it's going to take a minute to digest it, and I would want to get out of there. How about you?
Yeah, it depends on the situation. But probably, because listen, you can't unsee a lot of things. Trust me on that one. Believe me.
I have one more. I'll just give it to you. As many, because there's too many. But another one, what I called Art Bell on, and it was where I was living, and I was in my room. It's all lit up. My girlfriend's next to me. She's reading a book, and a shadow man walks right in 3 steps. My TV's right there. It started staring at my TV. I'm sitting there on my bed, just watching this thing full on, and it got like curious looking at my TV. Put its hands on its waist. And then my girlfriend pulled her book down, and she made a sigh, and it hurt, and turned around, and it showed an expression of fear, put its arms up in the air, and then ran out the door, out my hallway. And so this was almost like 45 seconds, almost less than a minute. And again, there was no fear. So this is where I'm trying to probably explain, maybe some people can understand that. It's like there's no fear. It's just something that I'm looking at it, and it didn't do anything scary. It just it got scared and went out my bedroom door, and I had to call Art Bell on that one. He said to me, he goes, "I believe you," and so that was back in '87.
Yeah, just think about this though. It could have been a individual from another dimension that they're very close to cracking the 5th dimension. So maybe it could have been from the 5th dimension, and it was inquisitive of your TV.
Right. What it was when he came in, he was fully like muscles. You could see his fingernails. You don't see no eyes. It's all black. He's completely no hair, no clothes. He's got no genitals. He's just in. He kind of like the Silver Surfer in a way, without. But he was black, and he was really. Detailed in all his features except his eyes and his ears, no holes, and but he was Anglo. You can tell he had his structure, 6 foot, very lean, so he had all his the muscles. You can see all the details. So but I've had more encounters, but the whole things are everything I've had. It's not scary. I wasn't frightened, and I've had it with other people. So then we've got collaborations that we both seen the same thing, heard the same thing. Daytime, it's things that happen in that I'm out there on the field. These are the things, but I know it sounds kind of like where you don't have people believe you. It doesn't really matter to me, because what I've seen, and that's all I can do. And you came on, and I started listening to you, and I love your show. And so based on that, but I have so much, Gary, in my head, so I'm trying to detain myself from all the things that I've seen that been verified by other people, and even the TV and media and other people talking about it. It's just there's so much out here that a lot of people don't want to see it or talk about it. I've had friends who showed me videos of things that I can understand they wouldn't want to go out, because then they get ridiculed or they can get into trouble. But they're awesome videos that I've seen from their view, from their home, from their time that they had these encounters, and they recorded them. And it's awesome. But it's a situation where their first responders are, I can't see that they were going to put it out there. And I wish I can get those to share. But when you do feel nervous to call in, and because you see all these things, it's kind of scary for us, for some of us. It's just like, who am I going to tell? But you're encouraging me to come out. I got to break my silence. I'm very nervous, but I'm trying to stay with you, as in your show. So I wanted to stay with that. I don't want to go off and tangential onto other issues, but this is something that I hope I can call back on another issue when you have a guest. And
you're welcome. Every Friday we take calls, and actually during the week too, except when we have the movie stars on. Then, other than that, you can certainly, at the bottom of the hour, we take a call, and you can ask the guest questions. On Fridays, after we have all the guests cycle through, you can certainly do what we're doing now. Hey, Art, I want to thank you for calling in, and you have a great weekend. Whereabouts in California are you?
Well, I'm right there where Disneyland is, in a way, but I just moved about 5 years ago to Westminster, which is like 7 miles from Disneyland, but it's in the Orange County area, and it's the hot spot where you got Malibu, you got the Catalina Island. I'm right here by Seal Beach Naval Shipyard, and there's a bunker where they got the nuclear and the bomb depot right there, where they have it caged off there, and right by the 22 and 405 freeway. If you go inland, you got Los Alamitos Navy Air Base. So I'm in a balcony of an apartment looking right between these two. And so I get a lot of, a lot of highway stuff that I watch and see. There's a lot of military here, but you can see Fort San Pedro from my place too. So Huntington Beach and Long Beach. And there has been some things recorded and played on the news, on the local news station. And I think I might have sent you one, but it's the one where it zigzags back and forth, but somebody's videotaping it. Yeah, and they videotaped it, and then it came on television. And then I seen it here, and I videotaped it, and one at night and one in the day. So there's a lot of activity. So I just wanted to stress myself not to go overboard on this. So it's just one at a time.
Okay, Art. You have a good one.
I got a lot of stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, well, thank you, guys.
Okay, thank you for calling in.
You have a good night.
Uh-huh.
Okay. All right. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye. Well, JC, I think it's about time we boogie out of here, isn't it?
Boogie on. Get your boogie shoes on. Boogie on.
You know what I got? I haven't ate dinner yet, so I got my TV dinner in the freezer. I'm going to put it in the microwave. I'm going to sit back, and I'm going to watch the last episode. They uploaded it yesterday of Resident Alien, which I probably have already seen because, I watched them all on Netflix. I watched them on Peacock, and whoever knows. I just love the show.
Yeah, you probably have seen it, but you know what? You're going to watch it again. Anyway, I know you are.
Okay, well, everybody have a good one. And who's your guest on your podcast?
This coming Saturday, actually tomorrow, I have Andrew D. He is a psychic medium, and he connects to the other side, some mind-blowing things he talks about on the show, so tune in.
Okay, everybody, check it out. You'll find it on your favorite app. Well, till next Wednesday, everybody have a good one. I want to thank you. And again, I hope everybody who, we got virtually every ID card out. I know I just sent out a couple more the other day, and we're out of them. So I got to remove that off the website. Everybody have a good one. You take care.
I'm just an average guy who read public documents where the elite said they were going to enslave us and destroy America. And I'm not going to be like yuppie scum and deny the threat to my country. I'm going to fight back.
Hello, flabby American. Would you like to be muscles? Would you like to be so healthy you could sit on public toilet without girly paper? Would you like to live to 150, 170 years old?
Oh my, yes.
Then come to the We Fleece You Gym, formerly Dr. McCoy's He's Dead Gym. At the We Fleece You Gym, we specialize in dumbbells. I mean weightlifting. Oh, feels good, yeah. Don't worry, that'll grow back. At the We Fleece You Gym, we absolutely, totally, 100% guarantee.
Not an actual guarantee.
You'll be an Olympic athlete in 10, 15 minutes tops. So come, flabby girly man, to the We Fleece You Gym. Tell him, Ivan.
Hello, this month at We Fleece You Gym, free bag of steroid vitamins make you very healthy, very strong, very muscle. Don't tell cops.
So, what are you waiting for, flabby man? Come to the We Fleece You Gym now. Endorsed wholeheartedly by Johnny Weissmuller.
He's dead.
By Jack LaLanne.
He's dead.
Never mind. We Fleece You Gym. Your membership will never end until your credit card gets declined.
Who's friends with all the night dreamers, talking to you at night? Gary on the radio, but maybe he's not in sight. Bigfoot's on his tail, flying UFOs, that's right. Gary's talking